Chapter 1355. The 9 little guys and Su Ilong looked at the information on the paper very seriously. The content was not complicated. It said that there was a problem in the Hunan province. There were more than 300 land renters who did not sell the wheat after the autumn harvest in exchange for money to pay the rent. Instead, they directly took out the money to pay the rent. Then they joined forces and held a big trading party, saying that they wanted to buy wheat from people in other places. They used a broker as a guarantee. Each side took out 10% of the total price of the wheat as a deposit. A month later, the settlement would be made. If they could not pay or did not have extra money to buy, the 10% deposit would go to the other side after deducting the broker's guarantee fee. After the imperial court learned about this, they did not know what to do for a while. They had to send a telegram to inquire about the same situation as before. That situation was that someone did not sell the grain. There was a certain connection between the two. Su Ilong and the 9 little guys did not see what was going on. It was nothing more than someone who did not sell the grain and then bought the grain. What did you learn from it? Xiaowei asked Su Ilong. Su Ilong scratched his head and carefully read the information twice. His eyes were still blank. He knew in his heart that things were not simple. Otherwise, why would the imperial court spend so much effort to contact Xiao Bao? Was it hoarding? Obviously, it was not that simple. How much could 300 land renters hoard? For a small area, they would have a great influence together, but it did not matter at all to the whole Tang Empire. Obviously, someone in the imperial court saw the problem behind it but could not solve it. To be precise, it was not that they could not think of a way. An administrative order was passed down, and the world was peaceful. Without an order from the government, it was estimated that the imperial court did not want any risk to deal with it by such means. That would cause the order to change in a short time, which was a blow to the authority of the government. Now that the telegram was sent, it was to let Xiao Bao deal with people through economic means, playing the game of Jianghu, and using a strong foundation to deter people who were ready to make a move. After thinking for a moment, Su Ilong said to Xiaobei and the others, "The imperial court saw that this matter was not simple, so they asked your brother and sister to deal with it. The purpose is, we understand. The purpose is to make people with bad intentions fear my brother forever. Once the administrative order is used, although the merchants will be honest, they will have thoughts of winning. From then on, they would no longer be worried about my family, nor would they be afraid of the top-ranking list. They would constantly look for loopholes to change the policies of the imperial court, thereby influencing political power. But if my brother wins, they will have to behave for a long time. A person's fear is not how strong the enemy is, but how deep the enemy is. The unknown is the most frightening, and my brother is such an existence. But what we're asking you is not the situation I'm talking about. It's what you've analyzed from the telegram that the imperial court is worried about. Why didn't you think of it?" Xiao Bei rolled her eyes at Su Ilong in dissatisfaction. She said what Su Ilong wanted to say and asked again. Su Ilong smiled embarrassedly and continued to scratch her head. "No, if I could think of it, why would the people in the imperial court ask about your brother? Have you guessed it?" "How can we ask you if we can guess it?" Xiao Bei smiled slyly, then looked at her brother and sister and asked, "Sister, you were talking about futures just now. What is that?" Wang Wan looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was indifferent. It was not that he did not understand, but he felt that such a small question should not be answered by him. Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao fiercely and explained to her brothers and sisters, "Futures is a term that stipulates that goods will be traded within a certain period of time, or it is expected that goods will be traded at a certain time. For example, it's my birthday, and I want to buy a cake from your precious candy house. When you send it to me on my birthday, I'll give you a deposit first. If I don't want it, I'll give you the deposit. If you don't send it, you have to compensate me. Under normal circumstances, you won't give me the deposit, but in futures, you have to take out the money as a guarantee and give it to a third party, such as a broker. Then I can rest assured." "Oh, I understand. It's just buying and selling things. You make it so mysterious. You want to buy a cake from me, but you don't trust me. Got it, got it." Xiao Bei looked like he understood and patted his chest. Wang Wan and Wei Wei smiled and continued. What's the most interesting thing about futures? When I buy a birthday cake, I don't buy it from you. I only say that I want to buy it. For example, the Glory and Splendor I Series cake that you sell is priced at 20 strings of coins. It can be given to more than 100 people. As for me, I don't want to spend 20 strings of coins. I think it's too expensive, so I said that I want to buy it with 19 strings of coins. When your brother found out, he discussed it with me. He was willing to buy me a cake that costs 19 strings of coins on my birthday, the same as my request. I took out a part of the money as the deposit, and your brother took out a part of the money as the deposit. If the price of the cake is 19 strings of coins when your brother bought it, he will lose 1 string of coins. If it's 18 strings of coins, he will make 1 string of coins. At this time, it depends on how much the deposit is. If it's 2%, then suddenly the price of the cake will be 21 strings of coins. Your brother will choose not to take the deposit, otherwise he will lose even more. If it's suddenly 17 strings of coins, then I don't want the deposit. I might as well buy a new one myself. If the price of the cake rises little by little to 19 strings of coins and 500 coins, then your brother's deposit was 380 coins. Now he has to add in the next 500 coins, which is 10 coins. If he can't take out the 10 coins, then the broker will terminate the deal between me and your brother and give me the 380 coins. Of course, the broker will have to take out a part of the money, but I can't guarantee it for free. On the other hand, it's the same for me. If the price of the cake drops, I have to make up the money according to the decrease. Otherwise, the broker will also give my money to your brother. Xiao Bei and the others were in a daze. They looked at each other, then gathered together and whispered. Xiao Bei rolled his eyes and said, "Doesn't that mean that we can make money without having anything in our hands?" Yes, this is called futures, real futures. It's not like the simple things that appear in Hunan province where both parties' deposits are unchanged. Wang Wan looked to the east and seemed to see a group of people who thought they were smart in Hunan province. They were happy there. The eyes of the 9 little guys were full of excitement. They learned a lot today and also touched the threshold of a certain industry. It turned out that money could be earned this way. Of course, it was also lost in this way. Su Ilong also seemed to see a new sky. What surprised him even more was that when the problem that the imperial court couldn't solve was passed on, Wang Wan didn't care, while Zhang Xiaobao looked disdainful. What did this mean? It meant that what the imperial court found difficult was not difficult for them. And according to what Wang Wan said, it was even better than what some people in Hunan province did. For a moment, Su Ilong began to mourn for the more than 300 people. You said that the tricks you tried so hard to come up with were like children playing house in front of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. The two of them were disgusted and absolutely disgusted. Now there were still people in the country looking for trouble, but they were not afraid of them. Dealing with them would be a piece of cake. Thinking of this, Su Ilong also relaxed and asked Wang Wan, "What they did is not good." It's hard to say whether it's good or bad. There's no problem with the futures trading itself. What's wrong is their ideas. They purely want to seek greater benefits, and they are clearly aware of the impact that their success will have on the Tang economy. Why didn't they do it earlier or later? Why did they have to wait for me and Xiao Bao to come here and do it when the war is going on? What are they thinking? Xiao Bao, tell me, what are you thinking? As Wang Wan spoke, she suddenly questioned Zhang Xiaobao, who was standing aside as if he had nothing to do with it. Zhang Xiaobao blinked and showed a confused expression. He looked very confused. "Sister, what does it have to do with brother?" Seeing that his sister was talking about his brother, Xiaobei did not speak up for his brother, but asked very curiously, "Ask your brother." Wang Wan stared at Zhang Xiaobao again. Seeing the little guys looking over, Zhang Xiaobao smiled shyly and said, "It has something to do with the national policy I mentioned before. One is the centralization of agriculture, and the other is the rent discount rules. After promoting agricultural production and reducing the excess loss in the process of direct payment of grain, it will inevitably lead to the concentration of grain in the hands of individuals. At the same time, there will be more fluctuations in the price of grain. This is the two-sided nature of the matter." Ah? This matter was caused by you, brother? Xiaobei was surprised. Don't push the responsibility to me. I didn't go back. I thought it was too late to deal with it when I went back. Who would have thought that there was a group of stupid people who think they are smart? They don't want to live a good life, but they have to find trouble. Zhang Xiaobao would never admit that he was guilty. Su Yilong didn't know what to say. She found that she couldn't keep up with the others' thoughts, so she had to ask the question that she had been thinking about before. Xiaobao, what did they do wrong? They didn't use the normal way of futures to protect the price. They maliciously raised the price. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need Wang Wan to say it this time. Protect the price? Xiaobei asked. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Yes, protect the price. For example, you have a large piece of land planted with rice. The price of rice last year was 10 coins per bushel. This year, there is still a month before the harvest. You don't know the price yet, but you are afraid that everyone will harvest less than last year. Then what will you do? You can sell it now and say that you want to sell it for 10 coins per bushel. You pay the deposit and then others will buy it. When it is time to harvest, the price will change. A bushel of rice will become 11 coins. At this time, you will lose 1 coin per bushel of rice that you sold before, right? But you planted rice, and the rice you planted became 11 copper coins, which was 1 copper coin more than the 10 copper coins you expected. You used the money you earned and the money you lost to offset the losses, ensuring that you could sell a bucket of rice for 10 copper coins. On the other hand, if it becomes 9 coins, you will earn 1 coin from the futures contract you sold before, and you will lose 1 coin per bushel of rice. In the process, you will lose some money to the broker. This is the protection price. You can hedge back and forth, or you can directly sell the rice to others in the end. The premise is that they want the rice. Otherwise, they will rather pay you the deposit. Ah, you can play like this? Xiaobei's eyes lit up when he heard this. Then he remembered what happened before and asked, why didn't the 300 people from Hunan buy instead of selling? Because they are provoking. They are not preserving their value but gambling. They want to get double the profit. There are many people watching and waiting for their results. If they succeed, more people will join in, Zhang Xiaobao said angrily. He did not care about this kind of behavior. What he cared about was what those people thought. Each and every one of them had a stable life and began to look for excitement, right? Aren't the people on the list smarter than you? What does it mean that they did not move? If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know why flowers. Wrong. How many eyes does Ma Wangya have? The little guys were as angry as Su Yilong. They also knew what was going on. Su Yilong clenched her fists and gasped for breath. She said, everyone is busy making the Tang Empire better. You have already personally participated in the war. The people on the top list of billionaires are all cooperating. Many people spontaneously came out to help transport the war resources and repair the roads. When everyone is united, there are still people who play tricks behind their backs. They deserve to be killed. If they can be killed, there won't be this telegram. Xiaobei was just angry, but he was not worried. He rolled his eyes and came up with an idea. Brother, sister, should we let Chongping Song release the grain now? Kill them at a low price. Wang Wan touched Xiaobei's head. No, Chongping Song is the intervention of the Imperial Court's administrative order. It will disappoint the people on the list. In fact, this kind of thing can be solved by you guys. Yes, it's enough for you guys to do it. Zhang Xiaobao also echoed. Xiaobei and the others were stunned. They looked at each other and did not know how they could solve the problem. However, they knew that their brother and sister would not talk nonsense. If they said that they had a way, then they must have a way. In an instant, they were excited. Xiaobei clapped his hands. We can deal with them? Ha 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 ha, I'm happy when I think about it. In that case, we will be more powerful than you two. We will let them know that their little tricks are useless and not even worth you two to do it. We will scare them to death. Let's see who dares to watch and is ready to learn from them. Su Yilong's head was full of question marks. The Imperial Court's problem fell on the 9 children? If it was really done, more than 300 people in Hunan province would be sad. So he asked, how do we do it? Yes, tell us. We will deal with them. Xiaobei waved his fist. Wang Wan still had a calm smile on her face. She said to her younger brothers and sisters, "Now that your darling candy house has stopped the cake business, with the autumn harvest in various places, the cake business should also be reopened. There is a kind of cake that can be made with the method of making ice cream, but the price is more expensive. There is also a kind of cake that can be made with rice flour, and the taste and texture are not bad. As for the cake made with rice flour, it will be boring to eat too much of it, so we will send a telegram now and tell the darling candy house in the country to involve the branches in Hunan province and the surrounding areas. From now on, we will not buy any wheat and flour. At the same time, we will develop a new darling rice noodles and a cooling series of drinks. Before that, we will sign a contract with an organization of more than 300 people to sell wheat and flour. Let them lose money. It is best to get some coarse grain products. Write in the darling candy house's newspaper that eating noodles is not good for health. Xiao Bao should eat more other things." This time, it was Xiao Yuan who said it. Chapter 1356. So simple? Su Ilong listened to the plan and couldn't believe it. It's not simple, it's the rules. In the economic field, the absolute oppression of the dominant capital over the small capital. More than 300 land renters may seem like a lot, but it depends on who they are compared to. My candy house can bully them to death. Without capital, whether it's the virtual economy or the real economy, they can only follow the trend. If they want to follow the trend, they have to be prepared to be drowned by the waves. Zhang Xiaobao said with a deep gaze. Wang Wan showed a different kind of smile and said, "But my Xiaobao is an exception. My Xiaobao plays the unconventional game. If those 300 people are under his command, I have to deal with them personally. I need to mobilize more capital, and even so, I'm not sure I can keep him." "I believe you." Su Ilong nodded. Xiao Bei and the others went to send a telegram to their precious candy house. They told the people in the candy house to inform Beijing and then leave it be. To them, they couldn't meet in person and then fight against the other party. They could only command from afar and didn't feel any sense of accomplishment. They were not afraid that the merchants from other roads would transport wheat to Hunan because the transportation cost was very high. After they transported the wheat over, they would find that the price had to be very high to make a profit. Moreover, there were merchants who could reduce the transportation cost on a large scale. These people in the upper echelons of the Tang Empire's economic field were not as stupid as the 300 people from Hunan who acted first. The 300 people were ignorant and fearless. If they didn't enter that circle, they would never know the rules of that circle, and it was difficult for them to personally understand the strength of Zhang Xiaobao. Just like the people at the top of the mountain and at the bottom of the mountain, they were so small when they looked at each other. The difference was that it was easy for the people at the top of the mountain to come down, but difficult for the people at the bottom of the mountain to go up. Half a month later, news came from the three fronts again. They had continued to penetrate more than 1,000 kilometers into the territory of the Duo people in 3 directions. The Duo people's response was to strengthen the defense and clear the field. At the same time, the main force of the Tang Empire retreated. Now, the Tang Empire's Third Front Army was resting and waiting for the follow-up supplies to arrive. The Duo people's army was also gathering and blocking the front of the Tang Empire's Third Front Army. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took out the map and looked at it. Because there was no detailed information and only circles were used to represent various places, the two of them estimated that the Tang army had already passed through Afghanistan and entered Iran. Looks like we have to speed up. It's not in line with the strategic goal. Why did they fortify the walls and clear the fields? Is Qiu Shou done? How do you deal with the food? Zhang Xiaobao clearly saw the third line of troops rushing over, but he didn't show a happy expression because his tactics couldn't be used in the current situation. He wanted to defeat the main force of the Duo cannibals and then use economic means, but now it seemed impossible. Moreover, he could imagine that many people would die during a large-scale retreat. The old, the weak, the sick, and the disabled would not be able to keep up with the retreating troops. In addition to the complex terrain, it would be considered good if 3 or 4 out of 10 people could make it back alive. It should be known that when the Tang Empire's army advanced, there would be non-combat casualties. They were all young adults, not old people and children. Wang Wan also frowned. She also didn't want to occupy a place where there was no human habitation, but she understood that this was the best way the duo people could think of at the moment. Looking at the map again, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Let's not go anymore. Let's go back and provide support to the pyramid schemers at the top of the tower. Let's go home and not go any further. Our landing forces over there have probably already taken over a large area as well. We'll be able to complete a pincer attack with the third line of troops. Besides, we don't plan to attack all the way to Mecca in one go. Let's just stay here and find the oil first. Then we'll ship it to Xinyuan Island for processing, which is Luzon Island. There is also a lot of coal there. Don't ship it to the Tang Empire anymore. When the technology is mature, we can go back to the Tang Empire to build a factory. In the past few years, in order to develop, our local workshops have destroyed a lot of the environment. Of course, the people of the Tang Empire don't know whether the environment is good or bad. In the past, they always encouraged the destruction of forests and farmland. Let's not go back directly. Let's go through India. I think we can recruit a lot of people along the way. When we reach the coast, we can take a boat back. I believe that the fleet that goes around the sea will increase the transportation efforts when the frontline troops have the advantage." Zhang Xiaobao temporarily put aside his depressed mood and thought about the next step. As for the duo people's headquarters, let's put it aside first. As long as the fleet was there, they could control the Euphrates River. Then, the duo people's region sandwiched between the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea was basically under control. They would fight when they had the time. The troops at the front line were in a war situation for a long time, which had a great impact on the morale. The main problem was adapting to the environment. Not to mention the soldiers. Even he, who used to fly all over the world, couldn't withstand the wild environment of the Arabian region. After a long time, people would go crazy. The driving force that supported the Tang army's advance was the belief of the strong country. Wang Wan's mood was the same as Zhang Xiaobao's. She felt uncomfortable. She thought that she would have the opportunity to personally organize a few tactical cooperation and have fun. In the end, it turned out like this. She complained about the duo people in her heart. Didn't they say that they would rather die than surrender and kill people who didn't share the same belief? Why did they surrender now and know how to make a strategic retreat? If only they could hold on a little longer. The Tang army wouldn't have rushed in directly. What were they afraid of? In the end, they played the scorched earth strategy. Many people died, and the autumn harvest wasn't good. Why bother? After feeling depressed for a while, Wang Wan ordered, "Someone, send a signal. Tell the third line troops to look for supplies on the spot. There's no need to attack anymore. Wait for the landing troops to join up. After the last land supply arrives, there won't be any more land supplies." Someone immediately sent a telegram while they could still contact. Otherwise, there might be no signal at any time. Wang Wan then said to Zhang Xiaobao, "That's why people always say that in the course of war, there will always be accidents like this. We can't control them even if we want to. We only consider our own strategic arrangements, but we don't study the other party's thinking. In the future, there will be more oil. It's just that our oil extraction technology sigh. Just like when China attacked India in the past, who would have thought that the Indian army would be so weak? At that time, China, India, and the United States were all dumbfounded. In the end, it was the United States that airdropped supplies to India. Once again, it proved the absolute superiority of advanced weapons over backward areas. It was hard not to be convinced. As for oil extraction, it's simple. Just dig. I don't believe that all the duo people in the war zone will be killed. There will be a large number of survivors. Now, there are already people digging oil wells. As long as they give enough benefits, they will be able to dig more. For example, in our Great Tang, other than the oil that flowed out naturally, there's also the oil that has just been dug out. This kind of technology doesn't need to be used in the duo people area for the time being. To them, oil doesn't have much use. One is used for war, the other is used for fires, and the other is used to treat skin diseases for camels. It's not worth much. Once it's dug out, it's very simple to fill it up. Just a few barrels, and it'll be a ton. We can give them more valuable things in exchange, such as cooling ointment and toilet water. 10 tons. They only need 10 tons of oil to get a small box of cooling ointment. After applying a little, they won't have to worry about getting heat stroke easily. It's suitable for both young and old. Zhang Xiaobao couldn't think of a better idea. The industrial foundation was there, and the current great Tang was using indigenous methods. It wasn't easy to get a gasoline engine and make a plane, but until now there was no news of it taking off successfully. Wang Wan sighed. A lot of resources have been wasted, and now you're starting to scheme against people. You didn't have a chance to carry out your previous schemes. Do you have anything to say? What should I say? I'm used to it. Not every scam will succeed. There will always be stupid people. If you put food in front of them, they won't even open their mouth. How can you trick them? Let's first occupy the line between the Euphrates River and the Persian Gulf. After that, we'll discuss with the duo people. In any case, that place wasn't theirs in the first place. While their teachings are still not stable, we should quickly change them and instill the idea of loyalty to the country in them. As for the plan to build a road that connects here, we'll continue to postpone it. However, we don't know the specific situation. If we can build a road here, it's better to build the road in our Great Tang first, Zhang Xiaobao said as he rolled up the map. He leaned back on the chair and closed his eyes to rest. Wang Wan, on the other hand, pulled a chair over and laid down, resting her head on Xiaobao's lap. During dinner, the two of them announced their decision to go back. The happiest one was Su Ilong. He felt that if he continued to follow the team, he would die in a foreign country. He admired the soldiers who came to fight. They suffered more than him, advanced faster than him, and still had to fight the enemy. Whether it was the psychological or physical pressure, it was countless times greater than him. At dawn the next day, the team set off and headed south. They had to pass through part of the Indian territory and then to the seaside. They would wait for passing ships to help deliver the news and then return home by sea. Your Majesty, eat some melon. Not far from the capital, beside an artificial saltwater lake, Gao Lishir held a plate with cut melon on it and spoke to Li Longji, who was lying under a parasol. Li Longji waved his hand, indicating that he didn't want to eat. He said, "It's so hot this year. Is there a disaster?" Gao Lishir pondered and put the plate on the table. He answered, "A state and 2 counties in the Yangtze River Basin were flooded. A county in the Yellow River Basin also had a flood. Drought."
No.
Oh, it's good that there's no drought. After the flood, people will move out and wait for the water to pass before they can go home and rebuild. I'm only worried about the drought. After a few years of drought, locusts will fly everywhere. When the lives of the people are better, I'll be in a good mood. Today, when I saw the other places on the lake that are open to others and the children playing happily, I felt better than eating iced melon. Li Longji was lying there. Wei Wei raised her arm and pointed. There were indeed many children crying and splashing in the water. Your Majesty is gracious to the world. Naturally, people will live well and know how to be grateful, Gao Lishir said. Humph. Li Longji snorted coldly and said, "Not necessarily. There are always people who think that peace is not good and want to find something to do. How's the situation in Hunan province? The price of wheat is 20% lower than last year. Chongping Song is preparing to buy grain at a premium. The price is the same as last year, but they have to wait. They have to wait for Xiaobei and the others to finish the contract with the candy house. It's estimated that those people have lost a lot of money because they negotiated with the candy house for too much grain." Gao Lishir rejoiced in his misfortune. Chapter 1357. While Li Longji and Gao Lishir were talking, Empress Wang and Wu Huifei, who were wearing swimsuits, also came to the shore. While pouring water from the bucket onto themselves, they listened to Li Longji chat. The two of them liked this lake very much. They didn't have to swim by themselves. They just had to lie down casually and they wouldn't fall in. However, there was also a disadvantage. There was too much salt. Every time they came out, they had to wash it, otherwise it would hurt their skin. Hearing that the topic was about the Hunan Road, Wu Huifei, who had just finished washing up, interrupted and said, I also heard that the candy house signed a contract with more than 300 people for 1 million strings of coins. If they can't come up with enough money when the time comes, they will lose 100,000 strings of coins. On average, each person who rents the land has to come up with 3,000 strings of coins, which is enough for them to earn in a few years. Empress Wang came over while drying her hair. Hearing Wu Huifei's words, she was worried. If they come up with the money, where are the little guys going to find food for them? It's grain for 1 million strings of coins. How high will it be? Li Longji chuckled. He looked at his empress, then at Wu Huifei, and shook his head. Obviously, the empress couldn't compare to Wu Huifei in this aspect. Gao Lisher explained, Empress, don't worry. 1 million strings of wheat is a lot, but it depends on who collects it. The Hunan Road is only near the Yellow River. Water transportation is developed, and there is a railway passing through. Even if they transfer it from other places, they can transfer the grain here. Empress Wang thought about it and felt that it was right. Although it was the little guys who did it this time, they had Xiaobao and Cuckoo behind them. At the same time, the candy house itself had cooperation with many people, such as logistics and grain companies. Even if her uncle and Cuckoo didn't care, the little guys still had a way to send the wheat to the place. Empress Wang was just happy for a while, but now she felt a little uneasy. Although she didn't care much about economic issues, she still understood some things. She asked, what about the transportation cost? If the transportation cost is more than 1/10 of the cost, Xiaobei and the others will lose money. I don't want to see the little guys lose money. The more Empress Wang thought about it, the more she felt that her consideration was reasonable. More than 300 people in Hunan Circuit had made a mistake. As a result, the little guys went to clean them up and even paid for it. If the money was wasted on transportation, wouldn't it be a lose-lose situation? Wu Huifei picked up a piece of watermelon and was about to eat it. Hearing Empress Wang's words, she stopped eating and said with a smile, Sister, you are thinking too simply. It doesn't cost much to transport from other places to Hunan to the area where the 300 people are. Have you forgotten who controls Hebei province? Ever since Xiaobao and Cuckoo had solved all the tribal problems in that area had always been the center of grain farming. There were early rice, late rice, spring wheat, winter wheat, rape, sugarcane, soybeans, and so on. The grain produced in Hebei province could solve the grain supply and demand problem of several provinces. That was a plain. Originally, that area was not under the actual control of our dynasty, so the grain had little impact on our country. Now, it was not the same situation as before. In addition, Xiaobao and Cuckoo controlled all kinds of crops in the northeast area. If they were not loyal to the emperor and patriotic, they could have messed up the agricultural economy of our dynasty. Especially this year, the Ministry of Works and the Agricultural Temple worked together to modify the diesel engine into a suitable machine for farming. Before the beginning of spring, we did not have to worry about a disaster in some part of the country. The cost of growing grain had always been very low. It was just that in order not to affect the price of grain in other parts of the country, a small part of the price was artificially raised by them. More of the grain was brewed into wine by them. Some of it was sold overseas, and some of it was stored. Without the two of them controlling that large area, how could His Majesty dare to be so casual in the court? For example, the general controlling the military power in Luoyang was not someone His Majesty wanted to hold before. It was not that His Majesty thought the other party was loyal, but that he didn't care. Oh, please forgive me, Your Majesty. This concubine talked too much. Wu Huifei, who was talking endlessly and excitedly, suddenly realized that as a member of the harem, she had been too ostentatious today. She should have followed the empress and managed the harem well. It was not right to run out to discuss politics. Furthermore, she had dissected His Majesty's thoughts in front of others. If the ministers knew, there would be a good show to watch in the next morning court. Li Longji, who had come out to relax, did not mind. He lightly patted his leg and said, There's no harm in talking about it today. I really do think so. With Xiaobao and Cuckoo around, no one in the Tang Empire would dare to have other thoughts. Unless they can get rid of Xiaobao and Cuckoo first, they would all have to obediently work for me. As for the matter just now, I want to add a point. Other than the grain in the Hebei province, which can be transported after crossing the river, there is another reason. Even if those 300 people had the money to buy the grain, they would have to bear the loss of 10%. Where would they sell their wheat in the future? It doesn't matter if Xiao Bei and the others put a million strings of coins in their hands. They have more money now. If they keep putting it in the bank, can those 300 people afford it? If they want to sell a small amount, the surrounding area will be saturated with wheat. If they ship a large amount to a distant place, who will they sell it to? Merchants who can afford to buy the goods don't dare to buy it. Therefore, their losses will be greater. After your Majesty and Sister Huifei's words, I feel better again. After this matter, those who have other thoughts should be honest. There is no need for Xiao Bao and Cuckoo to do anything. Only the little guys can deal with them. But what about the 300 people who rented the land? Empress Wang began to worry for the people who had been cheated. Although the actions of those 300 people were hateful, they were still people who had supported the lease of the land. If they really lost their capital and even owed more debts, would they be able to survive until next year? Sister, don't worry. Xiao Bei and the others won't kill them all. They just want to warn people and don't intend to take advantage of them. Sister, you will know when the time comes. Wu Huifei's understanding of human nature was much better than Empress Wang's, and she was also good at scheming. Back then, she had almost gotten rid of Empress Wang, but Wang Wan made a move later. That's good, that's good. Empress Wang was completely relieved this time. Wu Huifei also took advantage of this happy moment to say to Li Longji, Your Majesty, go down and swim one more time. Unfortunately, it is open to the public, and there are too many people. Her obvious hint was understood by Li Longji and the others. Empress Wang's face turned slightly red. Li Longji suppressed the restless thoughts in his heart and sighed. Sigh. If it is not open to the public, how can it be profitable? Even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo don't care about this money, can I monopolize it? This is not the palace. What will the people think? I still plan to invest more money to continue expanding the unsinkable lake. I want to let the people in the capital and the people who come to the capital know that there is water, and there is no lack of people. It belongs to the category of physics, so that children will have an interest in this area from a young age. Speaking of which, I can't do as well as Xiao Bei and the others. Every candy house has a swimming pool for children to play in, and it is free. This way, when the weather is hot, the children don't have to play in other water to prevent danger from happening. Didn't Your Majesty already give them tax exemption? I think it's good to expand it. There is so much salt in the sea, and it can't be used up easily. The lake doesn't need to be dug too deep, and it won't cost much to transport the salt. Wu Huifei quickly said something nice. Li Longji stood up from the recliner and stretched his arms. Let's go. Into the water. In a large courtyard in Henan province that was connected by someone, the 311 people who participated in the speculation of the wheat price were all gathered here. At the same time, there were people from the broker house watching over them. They were not afraid that they would not pay, but they were worried that they would take things too hard and commit suicide. Now, everyone who knew about this understood that the 300 people who joined forces were in for a bad time. The price of wheat did not rise as expected, and instead fell a little. Their opponent was the Tang Empire's patrol inspector, who was also the cute Xiao Bei and the other 9 people. Some people were gloating. They wanted to see what would happen to this group of people who were looking for trouble. Some people were surprised that the local incident had alarmed the Zhang family and Wang family. It seemed that their actions had angered Xiao Bao. Some people were glad that they did not participate when they were found. Otherwise, they would be one of the unlucky people. The merchants who had more money were in awe of Xiao Bao. They had long seen through the hidden meaning behind this incident. They knew that the imperial court and the Zhang family and Wang family would deal with it. However, they did not expect that the one who made the move was not Xiao Bao, but an even younger child. From the fight between the two sides, they could feel the will of Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. They did not need to deal with it personally. This was not only to suppress the 300 people, but also to warn others who had the same idea. It was also to deter people like them who had entered the ranking list. The meaning was very clear. Haven't you merchants been trying to test our methods all this while? Then let's see if you can find a loophole and make us unable to deal with it. Didn't some of you want to know how powerful I, Xiao Bao, am? Now you see clearly, right? I, Xiao Bao, am no longer capable, so I can only let my younger brothers and sisters take action. Who will be the next batch of people to test? The merchants in the ranking list knew that this kind of deterrence was the most powerful. The 300 people had just thought of a move, but before the spectators could increase their confidence, they were immediately dealt with. Xiao Bao did not even bother to deal with it personally. Not to mention that they did not manage to find out the truth. It made Xiao Bao seem even more profound. Perhaps in the future, when someone thought of a good move, it would still be Xiao Bei and the others who would deal with it. Xiao Bao could not be bothered with it. This was a blow to their confidence. When they thought that they had become stronger and could touch that high and mighty existence, a clap of thunder woke them up. What they had touched was a dream. The people in the broker house naturally understood the intentions of the Zhang family and the Wang family. They also understood that Xiao Bei and the others could not force 311 people to their deaths, so they had to protect them well and persuade them. At this time, someone was talking to 311 people. This time, what you did was really overboard. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are waiting over there. Instead of helping them, you want to take advantage of them. Making money from war is a big crime. Do you see? They have made a move, and you are about to lose all your capital and owe them a debt. But don't worry, there is no obstacle in life that cannot be overcome. I believe you all know that Xiao Bei and the others will not be ruthless. If you don't want their wheat, you can just pay the deposit and distribute it to you. Each of you will pay 3,000 strings of cash. That's a lot of money. I understand, you understand, and Xiao Bei and the others understand. You should do what you should do now. Settle down and wait for Xiao Bei and the others to save you, okay? Don't worry, after all, you still supported Xiao Bao's national policy. You have both merits and faults. The 311 people who were listening were all silent. Chapter 1358. Our Tang Empire will get better and better in the future. Once a person dies, they will never see the future again. Live, do everything you can to live. I remember that in the past, our Tang Empire people's lives were much worse than now. Many people were thinking of ways to make their lives more comfortable. When they don't get what they want, Brother Su, don't say anymore. We never planned to die. A man who looked to be in his 40s among the people being preached at interrupted the chattering of the talkers. The person who spoke choked. He looked carefully and found that some of the people who had committed did not show the slightest determination to die. He quickly said, "It's good that you don't die. It's good that you don't die. Brother Chung, since you can think things through, my mood is also better." Haha, yes, it's better. The other talkers also laughed. They finally breathed a sigh of relief. What they were most worried about was that the people in front of them could not think things through and would go to a dead end. If that happened, they would be the unlucky ones. Although the talkers were not responsible for guaranteeing the life and death of both sides, it still depended on who was involved. They knew very well that even if one of the 311 people died because of this, it would bring trouble to the 9 little guys of the Zhang family and the Wang family. This kind of trouble did not come from the imperial court and the people. The imperial court would not deal with Xiao Bei and the others, and the people would support them. The trouble came from Xiao Bei and the others. The 9 little guys would definitely regret and think that they forced them to die. After all, they were still young. The person who was called Brother Su was called Su Lin. His courtesy name was Marong. It was a very nice name, but it was not given by his family. It was a name he changed last year. Now that there were more schools, there were also more scholars. He felt uncomfortable using the cheap name he had when he was young. So he found a school and asked the teacher to help him choose a name. He paid the teacher a set of pig intestines and then went to the yamen to change his name. He had a meal with a few people who had changed their names and bragged about each other's names. He was very proud of himself. Nowadays, he liked to let others call him by his name. Whether it was someone close to him or someone he met for the first time, he always told others what his name was and what his name was. At this moment, the opportunity came again. He said to Brother Chung in front of him, "Brother Chung, please call me Marong. My name is Lin." When it comes to choosing characters, one means opposite, and the other means compatible. As you can see, I am compatible. Old Brother Chung didn't have a new name. It was just casually given by his father. He was called Chung Pingping, probably because he wanted to be mediocre, peaceful, or plain. It definitely didn't mean that he wanted to rule the world. He did not have a Chinese character, so Su Lin could only call him by his surname. He wanted to get closer to him, as there would be another person who would call him Maorong in the future. Chung Pingping didn't think too much about it. What he was thinking about now was what he had to face. 3,000 strings of cash was indeed not a small amount to him. A portion of the money he used to rent the land was borrowed. He owed a debt and had to pay it back. He could think of a way to get the money, but what would he do in the future? Without the capital, how long would it take to pay back all the money on the land that was still in his hands? Hearing what Su Lin said, he lowered his head and thought for a moment. He pursed his lips and the wrinkles on his face squeezed together. He discussed with the other party. "Maorong, can you give me the money? What I mean is that we have to deal with you. Anyway, we have to pay you a part of the fees. We owe a lot of people, so it's better to only owe you one." When Su Lin, who was still smiling, heard this, his expression immediately changed. He revealed an embarrassed expression and said, "Brother Chung, you think too highly of me. I'm just an ordinary person in a broker house. How could I dare to guarantee you 100,000 strings of cash? Even if I sold myself, I still wouldn't be able to get it. But Brother Chung, don't worry. I said before that the people you owe money to are not others, but Xiaobei and others. They won't kill you when you can't get the money." The other people in the broker house nodded. Did they have such a business? Yes, but it depended on who it was. Those who had ability and money could help raise money and get benefits from it. But for the group of people in front of them, they knew that the broker house would not provide any help to them. Now they were looking at them because of Xiaobei and others. Chung Pingping sighed and said, "We don't owe Xiaobei and others money. We tried our best to borrow 10% of the deposit from others. We can't pay it back. I'm afraid." "What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that others will hurt you? How dare you? Who has such a great ability? You don't take the broker house seriously. Those who can't be provoked won't use force against you. Those who can only use force to ask for money from you are not very capable. Let's not talk about other things. Your safety is guaranteed. After we came out, the boss said that you must stay alive and wait for Xiaobei and others to come back. We will also find your family for you. You can do things under our arrangement first or stay here and direct how to sell your food." Su Lin patted his chest and guaranteed. He really had the confidence to do so. The main problem was that Xiaobei and others did not intend to let 311 people die. In the whole Tang Empire, unless the emperor personally ordered to kill, no one could do it, not even the kings and princes. Su Lin even faintly believed that even if the emperor did it himself, if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo did not let him, the final result was that they could still save the people. The wrinkles on Chung Pingping's face stretched a little, but there was still a kind of sadness that could not be removed. He looked at the people in the broker house and asked, "If my 3 grandsons and 2 granddaughters change schools, I'm afraid they won't be able to adapt. Brother Chung, don't worry about the children. They just won't see you for a while. No, if you want to see them, you can come and see them. They can still go to school where they used to be. Let the school know and they can live there. As for food and drink, you don't have to worry about it. The school will take care of it. This is not a remote place, but Hunan province. There are countless merchants. How can the children in the school lack things?" Su Lin continued to persuade. If it really did not work, the branch of the broker house would lose a little money. Every few days, they would send the children to reunite with their parents. "I'm afraid that they can't find us, so they will go to lend them 100 guts. Not to mention hurting the children. Even if they go to the school to threaten them, then you don't have to pay back the money, because the creditor is gone, ha ha," Su Lin said, and couldn't help but laugh. Many people also laughed. Indeed, as he said, if someone really did something dangerous to the children, the result would be only one word: death. As everyone talked and laughed, the mood of more than 300 people changed unconsciously. They all thought about it and found that they really did not have to worry too much. It was just owing money. They could find a way to pay it back. While they were talking in the middle of the day, the people of the broker house began to deliver food. The dishes were not bad. There was a fried eggplant, a scrambled egg with cucumber, and a bowl of mung bean water, sorghum rice, and salted beans. However, this money had to be credited to the accounts of more than 300 people. When there was a chance in the future, they would collect it from them. The taste of the food was naturally not as good as that of the small pot, but the more than 300 people who had temporarily put down some of their worries had a good appetite. They ate very happily. Everyone ate and chatted. Su Lin was still the most active person. He held a large bowl and squatted near Cheng Pingping. He ate a few times and asked Cheng Pingping, "Brother Cheng, I want to ask you something. They were led by you. What were you thinking at the beginning? Why did you have to pick a critical moment to find trouble?" Cheng Pingping's hand movement paused. He simply held the chopsticks in his hand. His eyes looked over the bowl and stared at the ground in front of him for a while. Just when Su Lin couldn't help but ask again, he finally spoke. "I didn't want to find trouble for anyone. When Xiao Bao made the national policy, we were the first to follow. Then we found that by doing so, we could make a lot of money. So my heart became alive. Before, we didn't have the opportunity to make a lot of money. Now the opportunity was in front of us. We could reach out and touch it. Wouldn't it save us many years of work? We got together and thought about it. We had a lot of land in our hands. The wheat was also under our control. If we worked together, we could raise the price and lower the price if we wanted. Especially now that there was a war, the army used a lot of food. Our food couldn't be directly transported to the battlefield. It was too far. The imperial court's method was progressive transportation. The food would be transported from one place to another. Once the food was transported, our Hunan circuit would inevitably lack food. The grain merchants would raise the price. Since that was the case, why didn't we raise the price ourselves and then sell it? You know what happened next? We came up with a plan. If it succeeded, we could make double the money. As for failure, we really didn't think about it. We have a lot of people, a lot of land, and a lot of food. I thought about it. When doing business, whoever has the bigger capital can use this bigger capital to make more money. Those with small capital can't even qualify to join. As Cheng Pingping spoke, the people around him nodded. They had really thought about it this way. 311 people, if they worked together, would have a lot of power. If the 30,000 people who were renting land worked together, they could control the price of food in several dozen provinces. Big Brother Cheng said exactly what we wanted to say. Moreover, we thought about it. First, we would work together and raise the price a bit, but not too much. We knew that Xiao Bao wouldn't allow the price of the necessities of the great Tang to fluctuate too much. 1/10 isn't much, right? But if we did this, if we succeeded, we wouldn't be earning 1/10, but 2/10, or even 2/10. In truth, we were just testing Xiao Bao to see if he would say something and tell us to behave. If he said something, we would raise the price by 5 or 3%. But who knew? Another person chimed in and then stopped talking. He lowered his head and ate sullenly. Who would have thought that Xiao Bao would act so quickly and so decisively, right? You all thought that you had a lot of money, but in the end, Xiao Bei and the others used even more money to deal with you all. Su Lin also felt that the other party was unlucky. Xiao Bao wasn't like this usually, but now he didn't give them any face. Yes. Cheng Pingping nodded. I figured it out. Xiao Bao doesn't care about raising the price of food a bit. He won't allow us to be distracted. Chapter 1359. After the incident, more than 300 people were very annoyed. Most of them regretted and blamed themselves. They had succeeded in testing Zhang Xiaobao's bottom line. However, the result was different from what they had expected. They felt annoyed again and ate faster. They did not care about the taste at all. In a short time, they put down their bowls. Some people took the initiative to help wash. This work could not be done by the people from the broker house. Otherwise, they would have to pay more. The more than 300 people suddenly had nothing to do. The people from the broker house also could not find any entertainment. Their job was to accompany the other party and watch over them. They did not want to let anything happen to them. The sun began to move to the west, and the shadow on the ground grew longer. The more than 300 people waiting for their families to arrive first met the person in charge of Changpingsong. This person had a cold face, as if everyone owed him money. He glanced at the more than 300 people with a silent gaze. Everyone who was seen by him lowered their heads. They had seen people from Changpingsong before. It was not the expression of the person in front of them. Instead, he smiled when he collected the grain, and when he gave out the grain, he gave people a very gentle feeling. Why was his attitude different? It was obvious that what they had done had angered him. There are still a few days until a month. You sign a contract with Xiaobei and the others for a month. Are you going to continue to wait, or admit your failure now and pay the money? The person in charge of Changpingsong asked coldly. What's the difference? Changpingping stood up when he saw everyone looking at him. The person from Changpingsong glared at Changpingping and said, the difference is that if you pay the money now, I will collect the grain immediately. Look at what you have done. You have to raise the price of wheat. How can I, Changpingsong, collect grain? If I collect according to the normal market price, people will not sell to me because of a high price. Everyone is waiting for a month to come. Then they will consider whether to let me, Changpingsong, buy it. The person in charge was very angry. Changpingsong and other places had stored the grain they harvested last month, but he was still waiting. A lot of work was delayed. Collecting grain was not as simple as taking out money to buy the grain and sending it to the granary. They had to screen it, look at the weather, and design the mat and fence used to release the grain. If one was unlucky and the grain was bought before the enclosure was made. Moreover, the measures to prevent moisture were not appropriate. When the grain was not protected properly and there was a heavy rain, the wine could be made directly. Otherwise, the wheat would germinate and become moldy. However, Changpingping and the others insisted on raising the price of the wheat. The other local people were watching and did not buy at all. They were not willing to sell to Changpingsong at the normal price. Now, the price had dropped because of Xiaobei and the others, but Xiaobei's contract with the other party hadn't expired yet. If they were to accept the wheat now, a portion of them would be willing to sell. That way, the price of the wheat would increase, and Xiaobei and the others would definitely suffer losses. There was also a portion of them who clearly knew that more than 300 people would lose, but they still had a little bit of hope. What if, at the last moment of the last day, the price of the wheat suddenly increased? As the person in charge of Changpingsong, how could he not be angry? The role of Changpingsong was to coordinate the price of food. If the price was low, they would buy it. When the price was high, they would sell it. When the price was low, they would sell it. When the price was low, they would sell it. When the price was low, they would not let the people spend too much money to buy food. When the price of food was stable, Changpingsong did not need to care. Usually, he just needed to maintain it. However, he knew that how could it be stable now? This was the time of the autumn harvest. Moreover, this year, there were the most people renting and consolidating land in Hunan. Efficiency had increased, management had kept up, and grain production had also increased. Under such circumstances, how could the food not be cheap? Maybe, he admitted, it was this group of idiots who did it. In the first few days, the price of the local wheat had increased by 20%. How could Changpingsong, who was in charge of him, buy it? He didn't want to buy it, but the problem was that when the wind blew over, the price of the wheat would definitely plummet. He still had to buy it. Otherwise, the wheat would be bought by other grain merchants when the price was low. He would be incompetent and derelict in his duty. The provincial capital of Hunan province was so close to Luoyang and the capital. How could he make a mistake under the emperor's nose? The more he thought about it, the angrier this person in charge became. He even felt that he was about to fall ill from anger. Looking at the person in front of him for a moment, he couldn't control his emotions. He took 2 steps forward, raised his arm, and slapped Changpingping. I hate that I can't kill you. After the slap, the person in charge knew that it was wrong to hit people. He shook his hand, stared at Ching Pingping and threatened, "Hurry up and decide, or I'll send a report to the Zhang family and Wang family and tell them about your matter. I'll ask them if they still want to let me live. Today you've tricked me once. When Xiaobei and the others come back, I'll personally find them. Don't hit people. Let's talk nicely." Brother Tian, calm down. Don't worry, they can't make much waves. Our Tang Empire won't be in chaos. I think the Imperial Court knows that the matter didn't happen to you. Why bother? Are you free tonight? Brother, I'll find you to drink some wine. This year, the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion shipped a lot of wild animals. I haven't eaten this year. The wine is not expensive. Their grain is used to make wine. I bought 2 jars of the year before last. Su Lin reacted and squeezed between the person in charge of Chongping Song and Ching Pingping to persuade them. As a person of the broker house, he had a wide range of connections. He had eaten with the person in charge several times, Tian Monsong, so he could talk about small things. Tian Monsong took 2 steps back and continued to say angrily, "They shouldn't have left the grain to make wine in Hebei province. They should have attacked Hunan province. How dare they raise the price to make money? The more they plant, the more they lose." Yes, Brother Tian is right. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are really kind and soft-hearted. They can't bear to see others suffer. Whenever there is something, they have to suffer first. Let's have a drink tonight. I'll tell you, I also got a deer penis, which is very nutritious. Brother Tian, you're lucky. Su Lin followed the words and stopped Tian Monsong from continuing to hit people. Tian Monsong took a few deep breaths, barely squeezed out a smile, and said to Su Lin, "Brother Maorong's wine must be drunk. It just so happens that I caught 3 more snakes this morning and took them to cook. I didn't want to catch them, but the 3 snakes were unlucky and were caught by a rat trap. They were really unlucky. They just wanted to eat the mice. I don't know the details of Chongping Song, but I know that there are endless mice in there. As long as they are not poisonous snakes, the more the better. They can help to eat the mice, right, Brother Tian?" Su Lin was in a better mood when he heard the other party call him Maorong. Tian Monsong nodded. "Yes, you can only use clips in the grain depot. You can't put drugs in them. Otherwise, if the mice don't die immediately after eating them, they will run outside. Other people's cats and dogs will die after eating them. I want to specially raise snakes. Snakes are stronger than cats. Once the mice get into the hole, the cat needs to have a beard. If the beard is bigger than the hole, the cat can't get in. Snakes are different. Snakes are thin, and their bones are broken. Basically, all the mice can get in." Speaking of the grain depot, Tian Monsong was also happy. He was in charge of a place, and he was very professional. He knew what was going on inside. Su Lin immediately said, "Brother Tian, I think it's possible to raise snakes. They are not poisonous. Let them catch mice. When there are fewer mice, you can catch snakes. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Brother Tian, you have to take this seriously. Maybe you will report your idea. Moreover, raising some snakes first will be useful. It will be a great merit for Brother Tian." Tian Monsong just said that he wanted to raise snakes. Now that he heard Su Lin's words, his eyes lit up. He felt that it could really be done. If this method was approved by the Imperial Court, he could be promoted. The most important thing was that he was not afraid of others stealing the credit. If there was credit, everyone would use it together. The snakes raised not only catch mice, but also reduce the loss of food in the grain depot. At the same time, they could eat themselves and sell them for money. Cheating in Chongping Song's account book and profiting from it would kill people. However, raising snakes would not kill people. It could also increase additional income. How big was Chongping Song? How many mice were there? How many snakes could be raised? How much could a snake be sold for? Tian Monsong pondered. His hands kept moving beside his legs. Obviously, he was in an excited situation. Seeing Tian Monsong's appearance, Su Lin knew that what he said was heard by the other party. Then he felt that it was very interesting. The 2 of them talked. How could they come up with a good idea? If the other party had credit, could he count himself in? He was not an official and did not need to be promoted. It was also good to give some rewards. After thinking for a while, Tian Monsong woke up and asked Qing Pingping, "Give me a straight answer. There are only a few days left. It's getting late. I will go back first. If I don't get your answer tomorrow, don't blame me for being angry. I would rather take the risk of being punished. When I collect food from you in the future, I will use my private power. Don't think that you are powerful. As long as you are on my side, as long as you are still farming, I will let you know who to listen to who." After giving the final ultimatum to 311 people, Tian Monsong looked at Su Lin with a smile. This time, the smile was more sincere. "Brother Maorong, don't wait for it to get dark today. Let's go early. If it doesn't work, I will talk to your boss and say that there is something important to discuss with the broker house. What do you think?" Su Lin nodded repeatedly. He understood what the other party meant. It seemed that the other party was really going to do what he just said, and he didn't forget to remind people that he would share the benefits with him. Su Lin then said to the other colleagues in the broker house, "Everyone, I will leave early this time and go over there with Manager Tian to discuss something. When the boss comes over, remember to help me tell him. There will be benefits for all of us." In a burst of laughter, Su Lin left with Tian Monsong. The two were going to buy a few vegetables and then cook a few more. They had a good drink tonight. The place had been chosen. It was Chongping Song's grain depot. When the two figures disappeared, the people of the broker house said to Qing Pingping and others, "Did you see? There are many smart people, but it depends on where they use their minds. You are harming others without benefiting yourself. In the end, no one will get a good result. Others are benefiting the country and the people. You should think about it carefully. Don't delay it for a month. That is a problem of attitude." While the others were thinking about what had just happened, Qing Pingping was different from the others. He was thinking about whether he should also figure out a good way to benefit the country, the people, and himself. Should he also raise snakes, catch field mice, or raise owls? Chapter 1360. Night fell. The moon was not so round today, so the stars in the sky seemed to be brighter. Tian Monsong and Su Lin moved a jug of wine, 5 jeans of it, and made a few dishes. They stayed under one of the racks in Chongping Granary's granary. It was hot, so there was no need to heat the wine. They lit a few ropes made of wormwood. As the smoke lingered, there were fewer mosquitoes. However, they had to pay attention to the fire. They could not let the wormwood rope catch fire, let alone stick it to the grain pile. In fact, it was not a problem to stick it to the grain pile. As long as they did not drink too much, it was difficult for a small fire to burn the whole grain pile. If they were to burn it, they would first burn the mat on the outside. Once the mat was burned, the food inside would continuously flow out. They would directly put the fire under the mat and then let out smoke. If this pile of food was just smoking, it would not be finished in half a month unless oil was poured on it and then flames were lit in different places around it at the same time. Because the grain was not so dry, if they did not believe it, they could find a pile of wheat or rice with shells and then use a match to see how long it would take to light the pile of grain into a bonfire. In addition, there were people patrolling, so Su Lin and Tian Monsong were not worried at all. There was no wind tonight, so the fragrance of the wine and dishes rose straight into their noses. "It smells good. Come on, Brother Tian, drink a cup first." Su Lin picked up a wine cup and said to Tian Monsong. Tian Monsong also picked up the cup, touched it gently, and the two raised their heads and drank. Tian Monsong smacked his lips and slowly exhaled. He felt that his stomach immediately became warm. A part of the smell of wine came out of his nostrils, and his whole body was comfortable. Good wine, but it is a pity that it is not easy to buy. "Maorong, where did you buy it?" Tian Monsong praised, picked up a piece of deer penis, threw it into his mouth and chewed slowly. Su Lin picked up a cucumber, dipped it in the sauce, and replied, "Of course it's good wine. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo wouldn't sell bad wine. They don't sell wine that is less than 2 years old. Drinking new wine is bad for the body. Drinking a small cup of this kind of wine a day is not bad, especially when it's soaked in medicine. They only sell hard liquor, and they don't sell anything less than 50% alcohol content. Moreover, they distribute their goods throughout the Great Tang. A portion is given to the restaurants and a portion is given to the merchants. Otherwise, if they focus on selling in one place, the local people won't need to make wine anymore. Benevolence, righteousness, kindness. All right, don't say that they're kind. We all know that they'll only be kind if you don't make any mistakes. Tell me, did you buy your wine from a wine merchant? There wasn't any when I went there this year. Tian Montsong refilled the wine cups of the two people. When the wine was about to overflow, he stopped pouring wine and urged Su Lin to tell him where the wine came from. Su Lin drank another cup and then said, "This year, they didn't distribute the goods at all. When the soldiers in front were transporting the wine, I happened to be strolling on the side of the road with my brothers. I saw that their carriage was hard to move. It was raining, so I went over to help. I worked for the whole afternoon. Where did you buy the wine that they gave you? You said that you bought it before." Tian Montsong found fault with him. The people in the broker house were different from the people who worked last time. We all agreed that if someone asked, we would say that we bought it. Otherwise, wouldn't it all be taken away by others?
Drink.
Su Lin didn't feel embarrassed. He calmly expressed his thoughts and grabbed another braised pig to kick and gnaw on. Tian Montsong drank the wine in the cup and refilled it again. At this time, he couldn't continue drinking. He had to eat. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to eat in the end and would feel uncomfortable with a stomach full of wine. Moreover, when pouring the wine, it had to be very full, especially when drinking from a small cup. Otherwise, when drinking, it would be disgusting. Drinking wine was different from drinking tea. There was no problem with inhaling when drinking tea, but when drinking wine, one had to hold his breath and exhale after drinking. Of course, this was excluding those who ate rice mixed with white wine. No wonder. Speaking of giving wine to the soldiers, the news from the front line hasn't been coming back recently. It's not like before, when there were new things in the newspaper every day. Let's talk about the situation in front. I read the newspaper today. There's no latest news at all. Just based on what happened last time, the advertisements have changed a lot. Tian Montsong said leisurely. He didn't seem to be in a good mood. Su Lin sighed. I'm also very worried about the soldiers in front. I guess they've pushed too deep and can't connect with the telegraph. Think about it, the environment there is so complicated. There's thunder and rain, the signal is bad, and the person in charge of the relay has to hide. I'm already very satisfied with my life. I just hope that our Tang Empire can become more powerful. Just like what happened to Jinla a few days ago. Those who dared to bully us. What happened in the end? Our Tang Empire's meteor battle team has been mobilized. If the newspaper didn't report it, I wouldn't have known that there was such a team in Tang Empire. When there's a chance in the future, when our family has more money, I'll take my family out to see the whales and places with koalas. It's a pity that people live their whole life only in front of their own home. As Su Lin spoke, he thought of a childhood friend of his. In the end, that kid ran to the boat and came back 3 times. Each time, he brought back something from the outside and showed it off in front of him. Fortunately, he still remembered to give it to him after showing off. Otherwise, he would have cut ties with him. But as long as he listened to him talk about the outside world, he yearned for it. Different sceneries, different animals and plants, and the local aboriginals over there. They sailed the boat while fishing. Life was indeed colorful. Su Lin's words made Tian Montsong yearn for it as well, but he shook his head helplessly. I can't. I'm an official. Unless I resign, I can't bear to. I can't bear to be an official either. Hey, Brother Tian, look, is there a snake over there? 2 of them, Su Lin said as he realized that there were 2 long objects moving under the moonlight about 10 meters away. Tian Montsong looked over and nodded. Yes, it's a grass snake. It's probably looking for mice to eat. They also need to eat, unlike winter where they can hibernate. I wonder, what if there's no winter? For example, on an island near Luzhou, I heard that it's very hot in winter. It's not hibernating. It's not cold, just like bears. The bears in the north hibernate and their paws are delicious. The bear paws in the south are much worse. Brother Tian, are you sure you want to raise a snake? If you raise it well, can you apply for a few more months of leave? Take it as a reward. You can take your family out to play. Don't go too far, just a place where you can come back in 2 or 3 months. Speaking of the snake, Su Lin began to give Tian Monsong ideas. As long as he made contributions, the imperial court would definitely reward him. There would be official positions, money, and holidays. If the snake was raised well, other places could also learn from it. There were countless granaries in Great Tang. How much food could they save every year? Moreover, if they sold the snakes for money, they would not have to hand over the money. They would be left for Chongpingsong. With an additional income, they would be in a good mood. The imperial court would also be happy to see this. Tian Monsong's eyes were fixed on the moving snakes. When the two snakes turned and disappeared behind another granary, he retracted his gaze. He drank another cup of wine and said, "Raise. Brother Tian, you'll definitely succeed. I congratulate you in advance." Su Lin congratulated him, but his eyes were fixed on Tian Monsong. Tian Monsong, of course, knew what Su Lin wanted. He said with a smile, "Mao Rong, raising snakes is not my problem alone. I need your help." "Brother Tian, I'll do my best." Su Lin smiled, knowing that his benefits were coming. "We're not familiar with raising snakes in Chongpingsong. Mao Rong, you'll have to help us find an expert. Also, there aren't enough snakes in the granary. I'm worried that I'll be cheated if I buy them from outside. I'll have to trouble you. I also remember that owls eat mice, so—" "Brother Tian, that won't do. Owls eat mice, but they also eat snakes. The two of them can't be raised together." Su Lin quickly reminded him. If these two things were raised together, only the owls would be left. Tian Monsong suddenly understood and laughed. Yes, if we can't raise them together, we can raise them separately. Brother Tian, owls are different from snakes. They can fly, while snakes can crawl. If you raise snakes in the granary, there's a ditch outside. You can control it. How big of a net do you need to pull out to raise owls? It's okay to just eat mice, but it eats a lot. What if it eats other people's domestic poultry? Su Lin had to continue to remind him. It's drunk. Look at me, I won't raise it. If I don't raise owls, I'll raise snakes. Brother, you're right. Snakes eat chickens too, but you can control them in one place and pull out the net. Brother, you have to pay attention to the matter of buying snakes. Tian Monsong smiled embarrassedly and made up his mind about raising snakes in Chongpingsong's granary. If he really raised snakes, he would be promoted and earn money. He could also take more vacations and take his family out. Not to mention going too far. Even if he went to Luzhou's place, he could see the bright moon rising from the sea and the scenery from the horizon. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it made sense. Coupled with the wine, Tian Monsong began to feel tipsy. However, he was not drunk, just comfortable. The food was more delicious, the wine was more mellow, and the moonlight was more charming. After eating some more food, Tian Monsong asked Su Lin, "Brother, where do you think there are more snakes here? If they're not poisonous, I don't want a snake to run out and bite the child. If that happens, not only will I be promoted, but I will also be punished." "Brother Tian, don't worry. I promise I'll find you all the snakes that are not poisonous, and I don't want the big ones. Otherwise, I'll be done for if the child dies." "Brother Tian, if you want to talk about snakes that are not poisonous, it's Old Willow Village in Hungnong County. There are many willow trees, rivers, tree holes, and all kinds of small animals. It's also cool, so the snakes are willing to settle there." Su Lin thought of a place and told Tian Monsong that if the other party agreed, he would arrange for someone to go there and collect the snakes. At the same time, he would ask if there were any willow mushrooms. If there were, he would buy them together and cook them for his child at home. "I know this place, Old Willow Village. It's amazing. The little girl is only 10 years old, but she's actually a 7th grade official." "Oh, a 7th grade official. It's said to be under the control of the county, but who dares to? The willow weaver is famous, and she can grow her own doll. My family has several. My child likes it and it's not expensive, so I buy it for them." Speaking of Old Willow Village, Tian Monsong had a deep impression of it. When he thought of the dolls at home, he smiled happily. However, Su Lin shook his head and said, "Brother Tian, you're talking about the past. Now, Old Willow Village is being bullied by the new county magistrate. Oh, why is that? That new county magistrate is called Lu Yan. He has the same surname as most of the people in Old Willow Village. Maybe they were from the same family 500 years ago. Yes, Lu Yan, I remember now. He's from Qianzhongdao, the former county magistrate of Bajiang County. He rose from 7th grade official to 6th grade official, which is quite a fast jump. What happened to him? It's a long story.
Drink.
Su Lin raised his cup again. Chapter 1361. Old Willow Village, which was mentioned by Tian Monsong and Su Lin last night, had lost its usual tranquility. Early in the morning, the new county magistrate, Lu Yan, who had just been in Hongnong County for a month, came to Old Willow Village with a group of people. He brought a notebook with him so that he could write on it. Lu Yan, who came from Qianzhong, was not as rustic as people thought. After all, Qianzhongdao was too remote and poor. Any normal Tang person would have a feeling that they had a high status when they thought of that place. It was the same as the people in the capital who thought they had a high status. Of course, the people in the capital now did not think that they had the highest status. They still had Luzhou above them. Luzhou used to be a place where people were sent away, but now it had become a place where many rich people bought houses. People who came from other places would be conquered by the beauty of Luzhou, but Luzhou's people came to the capital with their chests held high. Luzhou's people would only restrain themselves when they came to Sanshui County. It could not be helped. Sanshui County was the foundation of the Zhang family and the Wang family. It was the first place in the entire Great Tang. Whether it was in terms of scenery, culture, economy, or politics, Sanshui County stood there like a benchmark that had never been surpassed. In that case, Bajiang County of Qianzhongdao was the poorest of the poor. Not to mention now, even in the era of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the development of Bajiang County was slower than other places. However, as the county magistrate from Bajiang County, Lu Yan did not look rustic at all. He looked like a person from the capital. He had fair skin, a straight nose, and a straight mouth. When he stood there, he exuded a different temperament, like a gentleman. It would be better if his eyes were not so aggressive. However, people who saw him always felt that his eyes were small and always looked at people intently. The gentlemanly aura of a gentleman was completely destroyed by his eyes. To sum it up in one word, he was domineering. Here, circle this place with lime first. We have to build an octagonal pavilion and paint it red. It will create a strong contrast with the surrounding scenery. However, a red pavilion with green willows will not make people feel awkward. Yes, it has to be like this. Lu Yan stood beside the river that passed by Old Willow Village and gave the order to the Yamen people who followed him. Immediately, someone came over with a bucket of lime and drew a circle on the ground according to Lu Yan's instructions. Lu Yan kept a straight face and continued to walk forward. As he walked, he came to the side of an iron chain bridge. Seeing the state of the iron chain bridge, Lu Yan frowned. Then he ordered, "Tell them to lay down the boards on the bridge. I want to go over." This was not his first time here, but his 4th time here. He had just arrived in Hongnong County, but he had specially come to the same village for times. It was obvious how much he valued this place. However, today's 4th visit was different from the previous 3. Today, the plank on the iron chain bridge had been removed. Obviously, the other party knew that he was coming and did this on purpose. Lu Yan knew that the other party didn't want to let him go because they wanted to go against his plan. They didn't go well the first 3 times, and the 4th time, the other party didn't want to talk to him anymore. Lu Yan also knew the situation in Old Willow Village, but he didn't believe it. He believed that what he did was right. As long as it was right, even the emperor should support it, let alone Xiaobei. The Zhang family and the Wang family didn't want to be reasonable. More importantly, once he succeeded, his status would be improved. Others didn't dare to provoke the Zhang family and the Wang family, but he dared. What he did was right. He wanted to tell the world that the Tang Empire didn't only have Xiaobao and Cuckoo, but also he, Lu Yan. Originally, he wanted to ask Lu Feifei to go to the Yamen directly. However, when he thought about it, Lu Feifei had already been ordered to go to the capital to bring some willow trees and mushrooms in Old Willow Village. At the same time, she had to bring back new seeds from the Sanongxi Temple. Lu Yan didn't want to wait for a little girl, so he came here first. He thought that he could deal with the problem directly as the county magistrate. However, the customs in Old Willow Village were different. He had talked with the old guy 3 times, but the old guy didn't agree. Wasn't it just a few changes? Didn't he hear that poverty leads to change, change leads to success, and success leads to longevity? The old ways of Old Willow Village had already hindered the development of the Tang Empire. Now that he was in Hongnong County, he had to speed up the development. Before he took office, he had a thorough understanding of Hongnong County. He also made a perfect development plan according to the local situation. During the flood, the people of Old Willow Village did contribute. However, one couldn't just lie on the Book of Merit and not strive to improve. His arrival would change everything. In the future, Hongnong County would be a better place than Luzhou. It was closer to the capital and developed quickly. It would become another benchmark of Tang Empire. The more Lu Yan thought about it, the more confident he became. At the same time, he hated all those who hindered his development, and the old village chief of Old Willow Village was one of them. Lu Yan, who was immersed in his dream, felt something was wrong. Didn't he order his subordinates to call for help just now? Why didn't he hear anything? Call for help. Lu Yan ordered again. My lord, it's not that I don't want to, but it's useless. They won't lay down the bridge for us. When Xiao Bei and the others came, the planks on the bridge were all pulled down. The villagers knew they were coming, but they didn't lay down the planks. In the end, the protection team had to lay down the planks with their bodies. A Yamen runner explained to Lu Yan. What he meant was that Xiao Bei and the others were already famous at that time, but they still couldn't do anything. Now that Lu Yan was here, who were you? Who would care about them? You came 3 times and failed to negotiate. They wouldn't come out no matter how hard you shouted. Xiao Bei? Humph. You're not 10 years old yet, right? I'm 36 years old this year. He shout. Lu Yan sneered and ordered again. Everyone who came with him retreated at the same time. When they were 10 steps away from him, they stood still and lowered their heads to look at their shoes. Lu Yan suddenly felt that his breathing was smooth and his surroundings were empty. He turned his head with a sullen face and squeezed out a few words from between his teeth. How dare you disobey my orders? At most, I won't be a Yamen runner anymore. I'll go somewhere else. I'll move. What can you do? If I offend you, you can bear with it. A county magistrate, a 6th rank official, and a lower 6th rank official. I'm 36 years old. I don't dare to offend Xiao Bei and the others. You're too powerful. What you said today, I'll tell others. I'm not 10 years old yet, but I'm a 3rd rank official. Sir, you're busy. I'll go back to pack my things and move. The Yamen runner sneered after he finished speaking. He swaggered back and stopped serving Lu Yan. Lu Yan immediately realized that his qi and blood were floating up and his face was hot. He was probably tired from rushing over so early in the morning. Stop. How dare you disobey my orders? Lu Yan shouted at the Yamen runner who was leaving. What orders? My cheap life. If I don't work as a Yamen runner, whose orders are mine? I'll go to the restaurant between the clouds and the water in the county town later and ask the waiter to find me a new job. If I hadn't been a Yamen runner in the county before, I wouldn't have taken this job when I saw Xiao Bei and Xiao Bao coming over and saying that the Hongnong society would develop better. It's only a small amount of money a month. What do I need? The Yamen runner straightened his neck and said to Lu Yan with his head tilted. I don't allow you to leave. Lu Yan stared at him like an eagle. Damn. Are you the emperor? The Great Tang is not your Great Tang, and Hongnong is not your Hongnong. Don't be afraid. I promise that I will spread what you said today. Just be a good county magistrate and see if you can get out of here. Xiao Bei? Humph. You're not 10 years old yet, right? I'm 36 years old this year. Ha! The Yamen runner didn't even look back this time. He directly went to find a horse. He didn't want to walk back. Lu Yan suddenly felt cold all over. He really looked down on Xiaobei and the others, but others didn't think the same as him. If the news really spread, he wouldn't be able to leave the county town and he wouldn't even be able to go back. So he quickly stopped him. Wait, I don't care if you don't work as a yamen runner, but I don't recognize what you said just now. That's what I meant. Xiaobei, my nose suddenly felt uncomfortable and I humphed. Then I said that it's not easy for them to follow you out when they're not even 10 years old. I'm 36 years old. I can't compare with them, understand? You really make people look down on you. You didn't even finish a few sentences, and you're already scared. Don't worry, I don't want to use others to deal with you. Disappear. After the yamen runner finished speaking, he came to the side of the horse, turned over, clamped his legs, shook the reins, and rode away. Lu Yan stood there in a daze for a long time before he finally reacted. Since he didn't want to be a yamen runner anymore, why did he ride the horse away? You guys. Lu Yan wanted to point his finger at the others, but when he saw that the others also wanted to leave, he thought about it and finally restrained himself. This was because he didn't know how to drive a carriage. How could he go back when everyone else had left? Lu Yan felt that it was unrealistic to ask others to call for him. He held the iron chain on the side of the bridge and looked down. He tentatively took half a step forward and retracted his leg. He asked, how did the people of the protection team go over in the past? They held the iron chain next to them with their hands and stepped on it. A scribe answered in a flat tone. I heard that there are many children. Where are the children? Lu Yan asked again. Sir, didn't you already know before you came? The children naturally step on the bodies of the people of the protection team to go over. The people of the protection team lie on the iron chain, the scribe answered again. Can they withstand being stepped on? Lu Yan's gaze began to sweep over the others. Everyone took another 2 steps back. A trace of mockery appeared at the corner of the scribe's mouth and said, it's okay for the children to step on it, but the adults can probably step on it to death. Oh. Lu Yan didn't say anything else. In fact, he really wanted the people who followed him to lie on the ground like the people of the protection team so that he could go over. However, he found that his idea obviously didn't work. No one was a fool. Walk over by himself? What if he accidentally fell down? Who would take the position of Hongnong County Magistrate? Hello, is there anyone here? I'm here in person. What we're going to talk about today is different from before. We can change it. Lu Yan shouted to the other side. After shouting for about 10 times in a row, people finally appeared on the road across the river. There were old people and children, but no adults. They were probably busy making willow weaves. A group of people stood on the other side of the bridge and looked at Lu Yan as if they were watching a monkey show. Seeing people coming over, Lu Yan breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he felt very sullen. If it were other places, the boards on the suspension bridge would be removed. As the county magistrate, it was no big deal for him to send the runners again. However, if it was Hongnong County facing Old Willow Village, he couldn't do that because the runners were disobedient. Change it. It's a little different from the previous 3 talks. Lu Yan didn't say anything else. Chapter 1362. The people in front of him were still watching, but no one made a sound. It can really be changed. This county is doing this for the development of Hongnong and for the prosperity of Old Willow Village. This county is wholeheartedly for the public, but you don't understand. It's disappointing. Lu Yan puffed out his chest and said sincerely. It would be better if his eyes weren't so aggressive. Have you seen it? Go back and eat your snacks. The snacks are almost ready. Today's snacks are cream pastries and potato strips with tomato sauce. The old villager said to the children who came to watch. He was accompanying the children in class and came out after class. He was just in time for the children to eat their snacks. When the children heard that there were potato strips and tomato sauce, they cheered and ran back. After all, Lu Yan couldn't compare to food. Lu Yan listened and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He came out in the morning and didn't eat. He thought he could eat here, but the people removed the plank and the market that was supposed to be there also didn't appear. This proved that there was a problem. When he came out today, someone leaked the news to Old Willow Village in advance. He couldn't do anything about it. Even if he suggested it on the spot this morning, his car was not as fast as other people's horse. Old Willow Village was indeed different. It was probably because they had saved so many people during the flood and helped others raise their children. That was why they had left behind some kind of relationship. Because of this, he should start with Old Willow Village and solve the problem there. Would other problems in the county still be considered a problem? He didn't know what the potato and tomato sauce tasted like. When he came back to Beijing, he ate pig offal and chicken liver. He heard that the meat was canned and sent to the front line. The rest of the food was used to entertain the officials who came back this year. How hateful. Why can the Zhang family and Wang family eat whatever they want? Even if you found the food, you give it to others. Do you have any respect for the imperial court? Do you have any respect for the world? Lu Yan saw that the old man in front of him was standing still and didn't say anything, so he had to take the initiative. Mr. Liu, can you come over and talk? It's too tiring to make the plank. The villagers are busy. The old villager replied calmly. Can you come over and talk? Lu Yan asked again. He stood on one side, and the person who wanted to talk stood on the other side. He felt uncomfortable. It wasn't like they were his brothers or sisters. Why don't you stand and talk? I'm annoyed to see you old man up close. The old villager squinted his eyes and said, You. All right, that's fine too. Lu Yan had no other choice. He couldn't let people go over and capture the Muramesa. Otherwise, he would be easily pushed into the river. Lu Muramesa, regarding the previous 3 discussions, this county can compromise a step. Oh. Yield? Don't tell me that if we don't expand the river, don't fill the current deep river into a shallow river, and don't let the people in our village migrate out? Lao Siyuan stood on the other side of the river and asked. His voice was full of energy, and it reverberated throughout the river. It was much louder than Lu Yan's. Lu Yan took 2 steps back. He was afraid of being shaken off. Moreover, looking at the height made him feel dizzy. Lu Muramesa, you clearly know that these 3 points cannot be changed. Why do you still insist on saying them? This county can compromise. First, Old Willow Village can move to the county. You don't have to look for other places to build new houses. Second, the cost price of willow weaving provided by Old Willow Village can be reduced from 100 to 80. Third, Old Willow Village can collect iron chains used to tie boats from the county. The county will no longer use them for free. Instead, it will give a certain amount of compensation. Fourth, Xiao Yan, you can stop dreaming. This old man knows what you are thinking. You want to sacrifice the interests of the local people in this county to increase your political achievements. I don't know what you did when you were the county magistrate in Bajiang, but I want to tell you that if you also sacrifice the interests of the local people to obtain political achievements, you should be careful. As long as there is a report, even if you become the head of the secretariat, it will be useless. Even if the emperor doesn't punish you, will Xiao Bao and Cuckoo let you go? Before you came to Hongnong, Xiao Bao had already made a plan for Hongnong's development in the next 10 years. Your last position was done according to Xiao Bao's request. If you want to be a stable official, then don't move. Not only in Old Willow Village, but also in other places in the county. It's not that this old man is looking down on you, but you really don't have the ability. Xiao Bao's plan is a national policy in the imperial court, but it is a good policy in the local area. You should learn for another 20 years. When you look back, you will see how ignorant you are today. Without waiting for Lu Yan to finish speaking, the old villager interrupted Lu Yan's next words and gave him a fierce lecture. Lu Yan gasped for breath. He was angered by Lu Muramesa's words. How was this a kind warning? It was clearly belittling him as if he was worthless. After a while, Lu Yan took a deep breath and said to Lu Muramesa with a smile, Lu Muramesa is so powerful. Why is it that I am the county magistrate of Hongnong, and you are just a village chief? That's why you can manage a village, but when it comes to managing a county, you better work hard in your next life. This county magistrate is not here to argue with you. This county magistrate is asking you, do you understand economics? Do you understand tourism? Yes, tourism is a part of the economy, so you can't compare them. Xiao Yan, you want to talk about finance, right? You want to talk about pure capital operation, right? This old man is a scholar, so I can read. Every time Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have new books that don't involve the secrets of Tang Dynasty, they will send a set to this old man. It's not that this old man has great ability, but Xiao Bao and Cuckoo know how to respect the old and love the young. They also know that this old man is willing to give up his life for Old Willow Village. Go back. Go back and take a good look at the plan that Xiao Bao left behind. I also have a copy, so I have to take a look at it when I have time. Xiao Bao's plan is called a plan. Yours is a one-off deal, and you don't even have a supplementary plan. Rice is eaten one bite at a time, and the road is taken one step at a time. Without so much foreign capital, and without an absolutely advantageous investment environment in the local area, how can you develop quickly? It's the plan that you said, sacrificing the interests of the local people to attract foreign tourists, and the county will get tax. You can just ask us for money directly. Why do you have to go in a big circle? You're tired, and we're tired. The foundation of development is to let the local people become rich, not to let your county yamen increase the tax. Xiao Yan, do you understand? Go back, The old villager lectured Lu Yan again, but this time he didn't use casual words. Instead, he started to talk about the economy, development, and planning with Lu Yan. Our Hongnong County has developed to a certain extent, and what we need is to settle down and accumulate, not to overturn everything that has been done before. It's easy for officials to overturn a decision, but the people will suffer because of it. Xiao Bao said that local officials can't just make decisions, make promises, and leave. Moreover, they can't leave now. If there's a problem, they will be punished even if they leave. Sir, let's go back. There are still many things to deal with in the county. I haven't even finished the framework for this year's autumn harvest. The deputy county magistrate, who came with the old villager, said, You short-sighted people, you won't understand, even if I explain it to you. Let me emphasize again. I'm not discussing with you. I'm telling you what to do, and you just have to do it. If something happens, it's my fault. Lu Yan decided not to talk to others anymore. He had to use tough means to achieve his goal. He had to overturn everything before, otherwise, how could he show his ability? If he didn't show his ability, how could he continue to be promoted? It's not like he didn't know about the economy, it's just a small matter. It's your fault. Excuse me, who are you? A clear voice of a girl sounded behind the people from the yamen. The old villager on the other side of the river showed a kind smile. Lu Yan and the others turned around and saw a girl wearing a 7th-rank official uniform. There were 4 people standing beside her, and there was a word band embroidered on their chests. When the deputy county magistrate saw the girl behind him, he immediately said with a smile, Yo, our most beautiful, smartest, and most capable Feifei is back. Well, I went to the capital and took a long time. Uncle Sun, why are you here? Where's the market? Lu Feifei said to the deputy county magistrate happily. Suddenly, she found a problem. The market that was always there was gone. The deputy county magistrate smiled. Feifei, the county magistrate is here. Maybe everyone is afraid of meeting a senior official, so they didn't come out. He also started to target Lu Yan. Anyway, it was already like this. If he let Lu Yan continue, he would not be able to recover. Lu Yan? Right? Lu Feifei knew the new county magistrate's name. Yes, it's me. Lu Yan was full of anger now. When he looked at the little girl, his eyes became sharper. Lu Feifei began to size up Lu Yan. After a while, she nodded and said, I see. You look like this. Let me introduce myself. I am Lu Feifei, Station Supervisor Lu of Old Willow Village, Hongnong County, Gua Province, Hunan Province. After introducing herself, Lu Feifei asked the deputy county magistrate without waiting for Lu Yan to speak, Uncle Sun, what did he say just now? It's the new development plan of Hongnong County. If there's a problem, it's the county magistrate's fault. The deputy county magistrate explained to Lu Feifei. If there's a problem in the development of such a big county, how can he bear it alone? His life is not worth this price, right? Brother Xiaobao had said before that people shouldn't think too highly of themselves. He had said it so well. If a person had harmed so many people in a county, would he be able to bear the consequences? No, we don't need anyone to bear the responsibility alone in Old Willow Village. If we are stable, then so be it. County Magistrate Liu, can you ask other places? See if they are willing to bear the responsibility after you have cheated them. Lu Feifei's words were merciless. Because she passed by the county on her way back, she already knew what kind of person the new county magistrate was. She guessed that she pretended not to know before. Lu Yan looked at the girl in front of him blankly. He really couldn't figure out how these words came out of her mouth. Now the little girl even knew how to humiliate people in a roundabout way. Feifei, what you said is so good. The registrar, who had been silent all this time, also praised. Chapter 1363. When the registrar said this, Lu Yan's heart sank to the bottom. He finally understood what it felt like to have a position but no authority. He regretted that he had been transferred from Bajiang County of Qianzhongdao. He thought that since he was close to the capital and Luoyang, he would have a better chance of promotion. Now, he was facing a situation where he couldn't control the situation in the county. It wasn't like this when he was in Bajiang County. 6 years ago, when he took office in Bajiang County, he took out money to treat the people in the yamen to a meal. He bragged about the capital and said a few new words about economic construction, describing a beautiful future. At that time, he won the support of half of the people in the yamen. Most of the people in the remaining half chose to remain silent. Only a few people were not convinced, but they were dealt with later. Then, he used his social connections to borrow 10,000 strings of coins. After spending 6,000 strings of coins, he won the support of most of the people in the area. The place was poor, and the people were stupid. He used the money to build fishing boats, buy animals, and get more tools. Then he began to develop. Relying on the geographical environment, he opened up more farmland, caught more fish, collected medicinal herbs, bought mercury from other places, and so on. 6 years later, when he left office, the living conditions of the locals were more than 10 times better than 6 years ago. More importantly, he had more money in his hands. His method was the same as that of the Zhang family and Wang family. The place was poor and couldn't take out money, so he used his own money to help build his own business. Although this was against the law, the local area developed, and the people's lives were better. Moreover, there were many things that didn't conform to the law. From top to bottom, this had never changed since ancient times. He also had the support of the people there. When he left, there were also people sending him off. He also had the all-people's umbrella, although the entire county's population was less than 10,000. What did this mean? It meant that he wasn't worse than the Zhang family and Wang family, and not weaker than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. How could he not do what they did? Coming to Hongnong, he should have been able to show his strength. Why did he have to be influenced by Zhang Xiaobao, who didn't hold office here at all?
Why?
Lu Yan was very sullen. He was bitterly disappointed. He even had the idea of giving up everything and becoming an official in another place. However, when he saw the hateful faces of the people in the yamen, he gritted his teeth and decided to fight to the end. He would not give up until he had established his authority. Today, this county won't argue with you. Since you can't see the future of Hongnong, this county will let you see. When the auxiliary construction in other places is completed, if Old Willow Village still doesn't follow this county's instructions, you'll be going against the imperial court and ignoring the people of Hongnong. Let's go. Lu Yan decided not to attack Old Willow Village first. Instead, he decided to adopt a new strategy. He would start from other places in Hongnong County and slowly push forward. When he finally reached Old Willow Village, he would see how they would react. Lu Yan left with a group of people from the yamen. But no matter who saw it, they would think that he left alone. As soon as the people from the yamen left, someone from the village immediately helped to lay down the wooden planks on the bridge. Lu Feifei jumped over and asked the people who escorted her back to lead the animals into the village. She began to take things out of the pouches on the animals. First, she took out the seeds and medicine provided by the Sanongsi. Then, she took out all kinds of snacks that could be brought in the capital, as well as the handicrafts that were trafficked from other places to be sold. She also took out a set of glass experimental utensils from the savant's restaurant. Finally, Lu Feifei took out a wooden box and held it in front of the old villager. She handed it to him and said, "Grandpa, this is a gift for you. It's a set of fishing tackle. When you have nothing to do, you can fish by the river.
We can eat the fish you catch."
Good, good, good. I'll give it to you. There are already 2 sets. The old villager smiled. He took the box and put it under his armpit with one hand and rubbed Lu Feifei's head with the other. The materials used for the new set are different from the previous ones. When I went to the savant's restaurant to ask for the glass utensils, they gave it to me. Grandpa, the capital has changed again. Except for the Imperial Palace, there are no single-story houses. The lowest one is 2-story. Lu Feifei took the fried potato strips from the children who skipped class and talked about the changes in the capital while eating. The old villager still looked kind. Good, good. It's good that the capital has changed. There are more people going to the capital, which means that the road is better. The people have money. You went out for a month. Did you fall behind in your studies? I didn't read much in the textbooks, but I learned a lot. I also went to a place in the Ministry of Works. Grandpa, the people there are so good. They are so knowledgeable. I couldn't understand what they said. When I read, I learned from the apprentices. Those apprentices who are not allowed to work are better than me. Lu Feifei said seriously. Her eyes were full of yearning and admiration. The old villager smiled. Haha, the people in the Ministry of Works are not knowledgeable. How can they make things? It's just that they can't learn how to write there. Yes, they don't talk about those who know things. They talk about formulas, density, and so on. They're good at math. But I stayed in the savant's restaurant and learned a lot of knowledge about writing from their staff. They taught me like telling stories. I feel that they are better than the people in the Imperial College and the Imperial College. Lu Feifei said excitedly. She even gave an example. The other children around listened attentively. They were envious that Lu Feifei could go to the capital to play. Oh, you also went to the Imperial College and the Imperial College, the old villager said with emotion. He was also a scholar, so he naturally liked those circles. Lu Feifei nodded fiercely. Yes, when I was in the capital, I went to most places. I could go to places that ordinary people couldn't go. Although I am only a 7th-rank official, it was Xiaobei who asked me to come here. The Zhang family and the Wang family are very good to me. By the way, Grandpa, let me tell you something. Lu Feifei suddenly lowered her voice. She looked around as if she was afraid that outsiders would hear her. She said, I even had a meal with the current emperor. What? The old villager was shocked. The eyes of the people around him instantly widened. They knew that it was not difficult to see the emperor. They just had to go to the capital with their household registration. After verification, they could wait outside the palace. If the emperor came out, they could see him. But it was another thing to have a meal with the emperor. If Xiaobei and the others were there, they could lead the way. But Feifei went there by herself. How did she have a meal with the emperor? Lu Feifei didn't wait for others to ask and said, I didn't go to see the emperor. On the 9th day in the capital, when I got up in the morning, Uncle Zhang said that he was not too busy today. He took me to see the fun and broaden my knowledge. After all, as an official, I can't control people. If there is a problem in the future, I don't know how to solve it. I followed them. Uncle Zhang won't hurt me. At noon, Uncle Zhang took me to the canteen of the Ministry of Works. There were a lot of dishes. I could choose whatever I wanted to eat. As soon as I put the food on the plate, the emperor came. When I was about to kneel, I found that the others didn't kneel. They just respectfully greeted His Majesty. His Majesty also took a plate to eat and then sat at a table. During the meal, he asked me about Hongnong County and our village. The emperor was very good. He was not scary at all. He was even better than in the movies. When he talked to me and listened to me, he always smiled. The emperor also ate all the food he got. He also told me to cherish the food. In the end, I ate too much. Because it was my first time there, I got too much food. Next time I go there, I will eat a little more and get a little more. Sister Feifei, is the food in the Ministry of Works delicious? A little boy ate the potato and asked while sucking his fingers. Lu Feifei thought about it and shook her head. It's not as good as the food in the savant's restaurant. Why doesn't the emperor eat in the savant's restaurant? The little boy didn't understand. The old villager laughed and patted the little boy's head. He said, because the emperor wants to see your sister Feifei. Your sister Feifei's official position was given by the emperor himself. Oh, Sister Feifei is the best. The new county magistrate is a bad guy. The little boy understood. Speaking of the county magistrate, Lu Feifei pouted and said, when His Majesty asked me about the development of the village, I told him how to develop the village. His Majesty even praised me. Now it's the new Liu Yan who wants to change the village. Is he as capable as Brother Xiaobao? I really don't understand what he is thinking. Immediately, the surrounding people began to attack Liu Yan with words. The old villager listened to the people in the village and didn't say anything. He could understand Liu Yan's idea. Xiao Sui and Xiao Sui made it sound easy, but not everyone could do it. Who didn't want to show off their ability to others? Who didn't want to be the leader when doing things? Most of the time, even if it was wrong, one had to stick to it. Not to mention adults. When children played together, there were also children's leaders, and there were also conflicts. The old villager could understand, but he didn't intend to support Liu Yan. If he let Liu Yan show his ability, it would cause great harm to Hongnong County and Old Willow Village. But how to stop it was a problem. Liu Yan didn't look like a person who would compromise easily. He had his own persistence. If a telegram was sent to the capital, the problem would be solved. It was believed that whether it was the Zhang family or the Wang family or other officials in the capital, they all knew about Hongnong's situation. But if they really did that, who would be willing to take care of Hongnong in the future? Officials were not only responsible for governing, but also for pacifying the people, maintaining the local law and order, as well as guiding and educating the people. If Hongnong became a place that all officials were afraid of, in the future, if officials came and stayed in the yamen all day without doing anything, Hongnong would be in chaos. Alas, this won't do. Fight, he still has to fight. That's fine. I have nothing to do, so I'll play with him. A 36-year-old county magistrate.
Let me teach him more about life.
The old villager muttered and decided not to ask for help from the higher-ups. Lu Feifei in front of him heard it clearly. She asked worriedly, Grandpa, can we beat him? He is the county magistrate. Our Feifei is also an official, just a level 1 official. But our Feifei is not under his control, right? The old villager looked at his granddaughter and said with a smile. Lu Feifei's eyes brightened and said, Yes, yes, I always forget that I am also an official. No one in the local area can control me. I am directly in charge of the agriculture temple. Then Lu Feifei began to worry again. Grandpa, I am an official, but my power is small. I can't control Hongnong County. The power is not about the size, but how to use it. Station Supervisor Liu, I will use your identity to fight with Liu Yan. The old villager thought of a solution. Chapter 1364. The new county magistrate of Hongnong, Liu Yan, was a very unique official, at least in the place where he was in charge of. He said that he wanted to develop tourism in Hongnong County, so he was very insistent on his idea. The county magistrate had always been in charge of making decisions in the county. The registrar was just a means to balance things out. Unless the county magistrate made a mistake, the registrar would report it to the higher-ups. The deputy county magistrate was an official who helped the county magistrate, so he had no good ideas. The only thing he could do was to be passive. Liu Yan wanted to widen the river that flowed past Old Willow Village and make the water shallower. The so-called shallower water meant that the water surface was close to the shore. After widening the river, the water surface would drop a little, but it would not reach half of the theoretical level. He thought that in this way, people who were close to the shore would feel less scared, and there would be more people walking on the shore. In fact, he had a problem with height sickness. Since Old Willow Village did not agree, Luyan started from the upper reaches of the river. The river that flowed past Old Willow Village was not a big river, but a tributary of the Honglu River. If it was not on a military map, it would not be marked on it. The source of the river was the mountain. The water flowed out of the mountain. Some of it was accumulated by the rain, and some of it was from the underground river. The river was very deep. Every year during the rainy season, the water in the river would rise. In the past, it always washed the surrounding areas, but it did not cause much damage. In the past, there was no village in the mountain. There were only a dozen families at the foot of the mountain. They collected firewood from the mountain or hunted some wild animals and cultivated a few acres of land for themselves. Now, there was no one living at the foot of the mountain. They changed to a plain and raised poultry there. Therefore, they did not care about the area at the foot of the mountain. It was the right place to start. Luyan came out early in the morning with a group of people to inspect the area. He looked at the streams flowing out of the mountains, converging together and finally flowing into the river. He had the demeanor of a judge. He said to the people in the yamen, "Look at this. Here, this is the place. This is a treasure given to us by the heavens. It should be developed and used. It shouldn't be wasted here. Otherwise, it would be irresponsible to the people of Hongnong and disrespectful to the heavens. Look how green the mountains are in front of us. Look how clear the water is in front of us. The mountains are clear, and the water is clear. Isn't this a good place to travel? Some people travel to Luoyang, while others travel to Buxin County. We have also developed this place and connected it to form a line, so the tourism resources are shared. Without such a development plan, without the idea of borrowing power, you're not qualified to be a planner. You are the sinner of Hongnong County. I don't want to be a sinner, and I hope you don't want to be a sinner either." After Lu Yen finished speaking, the surroundings were silent. No one applauded, and no one cheered. It was as if everyone had put all of their hearts and minds into the beautiful scenery in front of them. "Lil Tong, what do you think?" Lu Yen asked the newly promoted leader of the Yamen runners when he saw the awkward silence. The original leader had already resigned. He went to the office between the clouds and the water to discuss with the waiter at the door. The waiter helped him find a new job. He organized a group of people to train at the pier of Honglu River and then patrolled the entire river. On one hand, he could prevent possible cases, and on the other hand, he could rescue people who accidentally fell into the water. The salary was very high, 3 times that of a yamen runner. Moreover, there was no shortage of benefits. When patrolling, there would naturally be merchant ships or fishing boats that would deliver daily necessities to them. They didn't need to take the initiative to ask for them, and the others didn't give them much. A fisherman would usually give them 2 fish or half a basket of shrimp. They would patrol a few times a day, and at night, they would have more food to eat at home. They didn't need to spend their usual living expenses. It wasn't that they were unreasonable and would make trouble for the others. It was that the others felt that they were working hard and were willing to pay. If something happened, they would need their help. Lu Yen was very angry about this. He thought that the waiter from between the clouds and the water was deliberately going against him. However, he didn't dare to question him. First, the waiter had a powerful background. Second, he didn't think that he could argue with the waiter from between the clouds and the water. The waiter from between the clouds and the water was very talented and had to learn every day. If he really went to argue with them, it would be too embarrassing if he was stopped by them. Since he couldn't teach them a lesson, he could only suppress his anger and observe the yamen runners. He promoted Tong Hui, who was usually the most honest one, to the position of leader. He felt that Tong Hui would definitely lead a group of yamen runners to follow him. So now that he needed someone to help him, he asked Tong Hui. Tong Hui had only been the leader for a day, but he didn't feel happy at all. Instead, he felt that he was being roasted on the fire by the county magistrate. If the yamen wasn't close to his home, he would also want to work in another place. At this time, when he heard the county magistrate ask about him, he forced a smile and said, "Sir, I really don't know much about economics. I heard that there is a coal mine under this mountain. Why don't we develop it now? It's because Hongnong doesn't need this resource now. We'll wait for future development needs. For example, some industries that need heat supply. At that time, we can just mine this place. We don't move people here now because we are worried that one day we need to use it and the local people can't move to another place. If you want to turn this place into a tourist destination, you will have to build the infrastructure. You will have to build roads to the mountains, small dams, pavilions, and inns. After that, people will come to do other tourism-related business. What if we don't get back the money we invest? What will Hong Nong do when we invest in a company that needs heat supply? And that river, you see that the bank is high because there is no water this year. Otherwise, the water would rise to the bank and even overflow. You said that we can expand it, but what if we put the excavated soil back into the sack and throw it into the river to shorten the distance between the river and the bank? What if it rains continuously? After saying this, Tang Hui lowered his head and didn't dare to look at the county magistrate's eyes. He said that he didn't know much about economics, but he had seen the plan. He was usually honest and was always willing to think about things. The most important thing was that he patrolled the streets. Now, there were newspapers every day, big and small, and people everywhere were discussing it. Because of this, there were many disputes every day. Although not all of them were right, the atmosphere of the people participating in the discussion was very good. Everyone had their own analysis and found evidence to support their own arguments. After a long time, basically everyone's knowledge increased. They could understand the various policies of the imperial court. It was in line with a saying in the Analects of Confucius. If the people can make use of it, let them. If they can't make use of it, let them know. The people who knew how to reason would be more law-abiding. The people who talked about the policies of the imperial court would be more concerned about the affairs of the country. This was how cohesion was created. Liu Yan hadn't announced his plan to expand the local economy. Otherwise, the resistance would be greater and he would be angrier. Now he was very angry. The person he promoted didn't speak for him. Instead, he said that he would give him advice. It was as if he was new and didn't know anything. The transportation of coal needs good roads. Tourism also needs good roads. Even if other companies come in the future, the roads will still be used. Therefore, the waste of investment can't be counted in. The people who mine coal need a place to live. The hotels won't be used in the future. There's nothing wrong with letting them live there. As for the foundation of the river, after the river is widened, it will be different from now. In the past, the water overflowed because the river was narrow. If the river is widened, it won't overflow. Am I right? Liu Yan refuted and looked at Tang Hui. Yes, yes. Tang Hui didn't want to say more to the county magistrate. He was just a yamen runner. Even if he said something wrong, the county magistrate wouldn't change his decision. Liu Yan was slightly satisfied. He ordered, since you agree, find someone to start the initial stage of the excavation. Make sure that there are 2 meals a day. The monthly salary must be paid on time.
Ah?
Sir, that you don't know. Now, the workers in our county have 3 meals a day. The salary is paid every day. Tang Hui quickly reminded. Liu Yan was stunned. He thought for a while and nodded. Okay, I'll do as you say. They even need to provide breakfast here. That's not proper. That's not what I mean. Sir, the place you chose is far away from your home. It's impossible to let people go back and forth. The workers need to live in a simple house first. Tang Hui explained. Liu Yan suddenly understood. He was thinking about other things and forgot about the road. He said, Okay, you do as you see fit. Remember to find more people. After the arrangement, he walked back with the yamen runners. When he passed by Old Willow Village, he saw that the market was open. At the same time, the boards on the bridge were laid out. He hesitated and didn't enter the village. He chose to eat in the market. He wanted to listen to what the local people said. He thought that many people didn't have a good life and needed to work. Every day, they would wake up early to eat, then go to the factory or the workshop to work. They would eat at noon, work in the afternoon, go home at night, eat and sleep. There was no difference between 10 years and 1 year. It was the same for a lifetime. People with ambition should be like himself. They should always think about new things and change things through their own efforts. Only in this way can they live a better life. Old Zhang, This is the county magistrate of this county. Show him what you've got. If the county magistrate is not satisfied, you can't pay for it. Tang Hui played his role and shouted at a person who was selling box lunches at a stall. Most of the box lunches were served directly. However, there were also cases where people didn't want to eat the cooked dishes or didn't want to eat the cooked dishes. The boss of the box lunches looked at Liu Yan and nodded. He thought about what to do as he walked to the back. Soon, 2 cold plates were served. There was also rice wine with ginger slices, longan, and dates. The smell depended on the individual's taste. Some people didn't like to drink this kind of wine with other things in it. Liu Yan had suffered in Bajang, so he didn't have high requirements for food. Moreover, he wanted to show that he was close to the people. Therefore, he didn't say anything after smelling the wine. Instead, he began to listen to others. There was a lot of noise in the market. Some people were willing to let others hear their opinions. Have you heard? The new county magistrate's surname is Liu. His name is Liu Yan. Liu Yan just started to listen when he heard someone mention him. He immediately became serious and wanted to see what the locals said about him. I know. He came from a small place. I don't know if he made some achievements there, or if someone helped him. I hope he won't mess up Hongnong. I won't allow him to mess up Hongnong. Another voice sounded. It was a rough voice with a hint of hoarseness. Liu Yan was a little unhappy, but he didn't show it on his face. He was still a shrewd person. Your hope is probably going to turn into disappointment. He's already working on it. He wants to double the current size of the river and let the water rise. When I came over this morning, I heard from the villagers that they want to strengthen the tourism market and make Hongnong a big tourism town.
What?
A big tourism county? Hongnong's economic model is a transit and processing industry. If it is a tourism industry, how can other industries support it? The county's money is limited. If one side has more, the other side will have less. In my opinion, we should continue to support the artisanal workshops. We should use the good steel on the blade and invest the money in urgent needs. What artisanal workshops? I mean to continue to build the wharf. Now the wharf's warehouse is getting less and less. There are also fewer auxiliary tools. We have to tear down all the small houses nearby, move the people away, pave the road, and build more warehouses. You are all wrong. I think we should vigorously develop the special breeding of meat products. Think about it, there are more boats coming to and from the wharf every day, and the corresponding number of people also increases. There are also people migrating from other places. The demand for meat products is getting bigger and bigger. If we don't carry out special breeding, where will we get the meat products from? There are few local people and we will have to increase the transportation cost. It will make the meat products we eat more expensive. In my opinion, the first thing to solve must be the housing problem. Last time, there was a flood and there was a construction. But obviously, with the increase of the migrant population, the existing housing can no longer meet the demand for living conditions. The best way is to expand the county's urban area. Look at you. All of you are like the county magistrate. Hurry up and eat. You have to work in the afternoon after eating. You talk about these useless things all day. Can you control the county magistrate? Someone began to pour cold water on a large number of people, making the officials, who seemed to have a lot of power, to return to their original identity. You still can't say it? So, what if he is not the county magistrate? What can the county magistrate do? I just don't agree to invest the county's money on tourism. Shouldn't we say it on the notice board first? When the time comes, we will oppose together, and the county magistrate will have to put down the tourism. No, I went to the county the day before yesterday, and the notice board was removed. You are dreaming, and I still have to tell you. Do you think it is the same as before? Why is it removed? I suspect that the new county magistrate wants to pocket the county's money. Tomorrow, I will go and see for myself. If he doesn't restore the notice board, I will go to the place where the telegram was sent and report him. I don't care whether he has a problem or not. I will let the higher-ups check it first. The hot dishes were served. Liu Yan, who had not eaten yet, heard the words of the people at the other table and the people at the other table, and his heart was filled with hatred. First, he hated the people for rejecting his plan. Second, he hated that someone wanted to threaten him and wanted to send a telegram. The higher-ups would definitely send someone, and he did not dare to stop them. Of course, what he hated the most was the system of the notice board. The thing that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did when they went to Baoxing County affected many places in Tang. Any ambitious local magistrate would set up a notice board. It was clearly written on the board how the money came from, where it was spent, and how much the development plan needed to be adopted. Lu Yan thought that this practice seriously slowed down the development of the county, and it was a great interference to the local magistrate. Usually, the local magistrate would come up with a good plan, but because the local people jointly rejected it, the local magistrate had to make a new plan. What did the people know? If the people knew, what was the use of the officials? They could all be officials, so they could not let the people order the officials around. The most important thing for the people to do was to be obedient and act according to the requirements of the officials. Were the officials not more capable than the people? How could they harm the people? Thinking about the difficulties he was going to face, Lu Yan felt that the wine and dishes were disgusting. The meat was too fishy to chew. Why did they put so many tendons in the dishes? And the wine bowl, no matter how he looked at it, it did not look clean. Did his oily hands rub against it? After eating a few mouthfuls, Lu Yan could not eat anymore. He felt disgusted and wanted to vomit. He put down his chopsticks and signaled the yamen runner with his eyes. Tang Hui was a smart person. When he saw the county magistrate put down his chopsticks, he immediately asked, "Sir, are you done eating?" Lu Yan nodded with a sullen face. Tang Hui immediately ordered the other yamen runners, "Don't eat the dishes, drink the wine first. Lao Zhang, pack it up and put the rice in." When we are hungry, we can eat together. Lu Yan took out a bill and slapped it on the table. Today's food is not on the county's account. It's my treat, no need to pack it up. Sir, it's a pity to throw it away. Tang Hui was reluctant. The dishes on the table had not been touched. Lu Yan stared at him. I'm not throwing your money away. I have money, and I don't need to be greedy. Humph. After he finished speaking, he got up and left. Tang Hui agreed and gave a yamen runner a look. The yamen runner nodded and waited for the county magistrate to leave in the car. The yamen runner carried the packed food and followed behind, but they could not eat it on the road, for fear of being seen by the county magistrate. When they got off work, they would gather together to buy some wine and continue to enjoy. At this moment, the other people eating also knew who the person who left was. It turned out that the new county magistrate looked like this. Rich, humph. Can he be richer than the Zhang family and the Wang family? The last time Xiaobei and the others came here to eat, they did not throw away the food after a few bites. If they have money, they can just throw away the money. Why throw away the food? Oh no, the new county magistrate turned out to be such a person. Our Hong Nong is in trouble. A person looked at the county magistrate's team leaving and said to the people around him. The people around nodded. They could see that the new county magistrate did not like to eat the food in the market. He did not even pretend to eat. He was far worse than Xiaobei and the others. Speaking of good food, no one in the Tang Empire could compete with the children of the Zhang family and the Wang family. But why could he eat it, and eat it very cleanly? It showed that he had a different idea. Xiaobei and the others wanted to set an example for others with their actions, but this county magistrate wanted to prove that he was rich. Let's wait and see. If it doesn't work, we really have to send a telegram. We can't let him mess around in our Hong Nong. If Xiaobei had asked Lu Feifei to be a level 5 official, it would have been better than the county magistrate. Unfortunately, it is a level 7 official. Although it is not under the management of the county, it is not under the control of the county yamen. Another person said. Many people always lived in the same situation. As Lu Yan thought, they got up in the morning and did things according to the same routine every day. There was nothing new. As for the gains, they had more deposits in the bank, more new clothes, and more comfortable houses to live in. The changes of ordinary people were always small, but they were always changing. As long as there was no problem with the policies of the imperial court, there would always be something new in the lives of ordinary people. A month passed in this way. The bulletin board of Hongnong County was set up again, and the income and expenses were the same as before. Of course, there was no introduction of using money to develop tourism. It seemed that the county magistrate didn't want to do tourism anymore. Of course, ordinary people would not send a telegram.
They still lived their normal lives.
Only people in the county knew that the county magistrate had not given up the idea of developing tourism, and he paid for people to work there first. The person in charge was Tang. He found 100 able-bodied men and another 10 to help with the laundry and cooking. Then these people began to work. They dug the river, but they did not dig the river after the converging river as the county magistrate asked. They dug some small tributaries on the river. Those that should be widened were widened, and those that should be deepened were dredged. The excavated sand was transported to the flat ground and piled there. Several sieves were set up to separate the thickness of the sand and stones and filter the mud. This part of the sand could be sold or used to build houses. Tang Hui was happy, so were the workers. They were paid a reasonable wage and had 3 meals a day. Sometimes, when their children were on vacation, they would come here to play with their wives and catch some river snails for a change. They knew what was going on. The county magistrate asked them to dig the river, so Tang Hui had to order people to do it. But he did not want to dig the main river, so he cleaned up the tributaries first. If the county magistrate came and saw it, he would find various excuses. While they were working here, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team moved quickly. At noon, they finally crossed India and came to the seaside. After setting up the tents, only a small number of people stayed on guard. The others all went in to rest and did not eat. When they rested until the evening, they got up one by one to eat dinner. They held a campfire dinner right at the seaside. All the food was roasted from the sea. They were tired of eating the food on the mountain recently. The 9 little ones were still leading the children in the tribe, teaching them how to eat the food in the sea, which part of the food was the best, and under what circumstances, and what not to eat in order to avoid being poisoned. Finally, we're at the seaside. When we meet a ship tomorrow, we can ask them to help us send a message and mobilize more ships. When we go back, we'll stay in Luzhou for a few days and see how it's developed. Zhang Xiaobao breathed a sigh of relief. After staying outside for so long, he also felt annoyed. The team did not play a big role in the war. Let's not delay outside and go to the capital earlier. We don't know how chaotic it is in the country. The faster the development, the more unstable the other aspects. We have to take a good look along the way and find a way to balance the situation. Wang was thinking about the consequences of Zhang Xiaobao's national policy. You're right. I'm mainly worried about the officials. They don't have the ability, but they insist on proposing new plans in the name of development. It's easy to waste the local revenue. What's more terrible is that they'll cheat the farmers. Zhang Xiaobao agreed with Wang Wan while roasting the fish. Chapter 1366. Originally, they thought that they would only be able to see the passing ships at dawn and contact them so that they could help pass on the news. However, when they were having a bonfire barbecue by the sea, a few beams of light shone over from the sea, making their eyes hurt. Suddenly, 2 of the lights were missing. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan sighed at the same time. What's that? Why are 2 of the lights not shining? Xiaobei asked as she rummaged through her bag for the binoculars. It's broken, Zhang Xiaobao explained to his sister. The big searchlight is not very good because of the technology. It's a military ship belonging to the Tang Empire. Merchant ships don't have this equipment. Send a telegram. We can contact them now. Wang Wan immediately determined who the ship belonged to. At this time, only the Tang Empire had such technology. There was no need to worry that it was a ship from another country. Sure enough, once the telegram was sent, they received a reply very quickly. There was a gunship and a supply ship on the other side. They were on a routine patrol. When they saw countless bonfires by the sea, they shone. If there was no signal from the radio, the ship would send a small boat to check. Now there was no need to worry about the danger of being hit by the reefs by the sea. The 2 ships received orders and sailed towards the nearest lighthouse. As long as they could contact the lighthouse, other problems would not be a problem. Soon, ships would be dispatched. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan only had to wait for the ships to gather here in a few days. Then they could take a ride back together. They also had to organize the things they brought. They had passed through the territory of India, so naturally, they would not be traveling empty-handed. Instead, they would meet the locals and trade with them. The method of trade was not barter. Instead, they directly paid with money. Using the Tang Empire's money was a hard currency. Any place that had trade with the Tang Empire was willing to use the Tang Empire's money. This was because when the Tang Empire's merchants went to other places, they would use a very high exchange rate to exchange goods with the locals. The other reason was that they would slightly lower the price of their goods so that the other party would use the Tang Empire's money to buy them. However, they would rarely use the Tang Empire's money to buy other people's goods, unless the other party's goods were very good, such as pearls, gold, and other expensive luxury goods. This had a consequence. The Tang Empire's money was very valuable outside. The Great Tang also exported many low-tech but high-quality products. As long as one used the currency of the Great Tang, one could row a boat to the Great Tang and buy things in the Great Tang. After returning to one's country or tribe, one could make a fortune. The technological and military powers were so direct in their exploitation of the weaker countries that they didn't even need to set up trade barriers. But the Great Tang still had export tariffs, not import tariffs, so there was no need to worry about the primary products or raw materials of other places affecting the industries of the Great Tang. Exports were different. The Great Tang's goods were of high quality and also contained a certain level of skill. When other countries came to buy them, they would add an export tax, but the Great Tang didn't care. They would take the goods back to their own country and put this tax into the cost of the goods so that the buyer could bear the cost. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew this, and they understood it very well. For example, when they bought luxury goods overseas, such as leather bags, the country added an export tax, and when they reached the domestic market, they added an import tax. It looked very expensive, but people still fought to buy it. The value of the raw materials and labor time was not very high. The high price was due to the brand effect. It seemed that with such luxury goods, one's status would also be raised. Zhang Xiaobao bought many luxury goods, including yachts and planes, which were necessary for his profession. Wang Wan didn't wear any branded goods. Her clothes were specially made for her by someone in her family, and there was no brand on her clothes. Even if she just tied a piece of cloth around her neck, others would praise her for her beautiful scarf. But not everyone could be like her. If they couldn't use their status to increase the value of the goods, they had to use the value of the goods to increase their status. The countries and regions that had dealings with the Great Tang were like this. The cost of the raw materials was not important. What was important was that it came from the Great Tang. Xiaobei rummaged through her bag, but she didn't find the binoculars. Instead, she found a fist-sized rough diamond that had not been cut or processed. She looked at the bonfire and praised. "It's so cheap. What a big diamond. It's only worth 40 strings of coins. If you take it back, you can make at least 500 glass knives." Xiaohai next to her sighed and said, "I asked you to study mathematics, but you didn't work hard. Such a big diamond can make at least 3,000 glass knives. If the craftsmanship is good, the number can be increased. Isn't that a fortune?" Xiaoqiang poked his head and echoed. "Let me see how much a glass knife costs." Xiao Nen also joined in the fun. Su Yilong looked envious, hesitated for a moment, and negotiated. "When we go back, I will exchange 10,000 glass knives with you, okay? Are you stupid, or do you think we are fools? We're just saying. Do you really think we will use this diamond to make a glass knife?" Xiaobei questioned Su Yilong discontentedly. "I heard you say that you want to make a glass knife. You believe it when you hear it? Didn't you also buy 2 pieces? When you go back, you will be rich. Remember to pay back the money. 10% interest. According to the daily calculation, you borrowed a total of 220 strings of coins from us and bought a lot of things, right?" Xiaobei mentioned that Su Yilong borrowed money. Su Yilong didn't have money with her. She followed the team and didn't spend money on food and drinks. When she was trading with others, she had to borrow money from Xiaobei. She borrowed 220 strings of coins and bought a lot of good things in the local area. After going back, the value could increase by nearly 300 times after processing. Now she just wanted to get home quickly. Yes, 10% interest. Su Yilong replied, while still calculating in her heart, but she couldn't figure out how much it would be in a few dozen days. It's good that you admit it. Let me remind you first, Brother Xiaohai. If it's 100 days, then you need to pay more than 13,780 times the 220 strings of coins. Xiaobei said to Su Yilong with a smile. Su Yilong's face was bitter and she nodded. It won't be 100 days. It's been 15 days since I borrowed the money. As soon as I set foot on the territory of the Tang Empire, I will immediately find a bank to give you the money. It's estimated that it will take less than 50 days. How much is 50 days? As she spoke, she looked at Xiaohai. Xiaohai frowned, found a branch, and drew on the ground. After drawing twice, he shook his head and took out an abacus from his bag. After a few dozen breaths, he said to Su Yilong, 50 days, 10% interest rolling every day. It's 117. 39 times. Su Yilong couldn't say anything. She just stuck out her thumb and gestured to Xiaohai. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also looked at their younger brother Xiaohai with gratification. They knew how to do it, but they weren't as proficient as Xiaohai, nor were they as fast. Of course, what made the two of them even happier was that their younger brother, Xiaohai, was indeed very talented in mathematics. However, he was not stupid. If he only had numbers and formulas in his mind all day long, the two of them would take coercive measures. When Su Yilong heard that 50 days was more than 100 times, her heart relaxed. 100 times was bearable. At most, it would be 30,000 strings of cash, which was better than 100 days of 13,000 strings of cash. Although her family couldn't take out 30,000 strings of cash, she could immediately run to the bank after going ashore, mortgage her things, and take out the money to pay back Xiaobei and the others. If the price of a loan was very low, she could also use her family's reputation to lend, or even borrow from others. No matter how she looked at it, it was more cost-effective than owing Xiaobei and the others money. The interest was too high, and it was even compounded. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't care about the deal between Su Yilong and her younger brothers and sisters. They believed that the little guys wouldn't deliberately cheat Su Yilong. They must have calculated the time before going back. If it took 100 days, the interest would definitely not be so high. Regarding this transaction, the two were more happy and gratified. Were Xiaobei and the others short of money? Of course not. Now they were worried about how to make good use of the money, not to earn more money, but to improve the lives of the children of Tang Empire. Giving Su Yilong an interest meant that the little guys were sensible. Directly borrowing 220 strings of cash, or giving the money to Su Yilong was nothing. But that way, Su Yilong would lose a sense of achievement. When he returned to the country, people in his circle would look down on him, thinking that he took advantage of Xiaobei and the others, and not his own ability. According to the current situation, Su Yilong's decision to take the risk was based on his own judgment and choice. When he went back, he could pat his chest and say to the people in the circle that he took the risk with such high interest. He believed in his own judgment. In this way, the old man Su Jian would be happy. This time, they didn't fight to their heart's content, but they earned a lot of money. Along the way through India, except for the tribes they took in before, the others all made deals with the Indians. The method of trading was to first take the money to buy the local good things and then sell the unfinished canned food and other consumables to the locals who just got the money. The selling was not very expensive, half the price of the merchants. Anyway, the things couldn't be used up, and they were worthless when they returned. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team waited for 6 days before they gathered the ships that could take them back. Some of them were ships that had just come out of Tang Empire for long-distance trade. They carried things on board and unloaded them. A few people were left behind to trade with the local people with the cooperation of the guards, so that the empty ship could take Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan back. There were also merchant ships that had been outside for countless days and were going back to Tang Empire with goods. They also unloaded the goods and put them in the local area first. After sending Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team back, they would make a short trip. No one mentioned compensation. It was all voluntary. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also didn't mention the national compensation. They wrote down every merchant ship, and when they returned, they would specifically provide the people on the merchant ships with good methods or technologies. The people from the tribes that followed the team back to Tang Empire finally felt what it meant to be a strong country. Especially the leader of the original tribe, Simo Domo, he knew what this represented. This was the unity of a country. If it was his own tribe or country, such a situation would never happen. Unless there was a threat of force, who would be willing to give up their own interests so easily. It seems that Tang Empire will soon occupy all the surrounding areas. At least, I will be able to see it when I am alive. So strong. When Simo Domo he came to the ship and saw the people on the ship looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team with happy expressions, he sighed with emotion. There is one more chapter today, and the following chapter does not count the number of words in the main text. My editor, the beautiful Starfish, posted a message in the authors group. Free Qidian coins. The opportunity to increase subscriptions is here. There are 3 ways to participate in this activity. 1. Uni SMS has a free Qidian coin activity. If you want to participate, come and read my new chapter, XXX. 2. Free Qidian coins activity. I will share this with everyone. Download Uni SMS on your phone. There is an activity where you can get up to 10,000 Qidian coins. You can try it out. 3. You can get 200 Qidian coins through Uni SMS app. If you participate, you will receive free Qidian coins. This is a good benefit. I will recommend you. The activity is about to start. You can advertise on the book review page, authors group, etc., and invite your book friends to receive free Qidian coins to subscribe to your works. Chapter 1367. When the leaves withered and turned yellow, and a light snow fell in the commander-in-chief's mansion in Bohai Sea, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan brought their younger siblings down from the train station in Luoyang. More than 2,000 support staff followed them. As for the rest, some of them stayed in Luzhou to rest while the rest continued to take the train back to the capital. The tribesmen they brought back were also temporarily arranged to stay in Luzhou. They would learn the culture of Tang and various work skills there. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not plan to assign these people to mining or do dangerous work. Instead, they wanted to use this time to let them learn the things of Tang. When the war against the cannibals ended in a few months, they would select qualified people from among them and send them back to their original places. When they were sent back, they would be provided with all kinds of help so that they could live comfortably in their original places. At the same time, they would be protected by military force. Their mission would be to do business there and help to contact the people there to work in Tang. The people who came later would not be treated the same as them. The work they did was tiring and dangerous, but they were paid well. After a few trips, if the local economy did not develop, these people who came to work would directly impact the local culture. After all, they could not always use force to solve problems. Force was only a guarantee for other means. Politics and the economy were the most important. Now, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan brought the little ones down from Luoyang because they had received information about Hongnong County. The people of Old Willow Village did not send a telegram to Xiaobei for help, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did business in the county. When they came ashore in Luzhou, they naturally received the news. The situation in Hongnong County finally proved the situation that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had discussed before. The two of them wanted to see for themselves what kind of impact Liu Yan's governance had on the local area in the past few months. While Xiaobei and the others were thinking about the good luck at home, they also wanted to go to Old Willow Village to take a look. In the end, they finally made up their minds to follow their brother and sister to Hongnong County first. In order to not be known by the locals, the team hid during the day and set out at night. It took them 4 days to reach their destination, and then they split up again. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan led a few hundred people to a mountain and set up camp. It was the mountain with coal. They even saw Tang Hui leading 100 people to work in the distance. Of course, Tang Hui did not notice that there were a few hundred people in the depths of the mountain. Upon returning to the Great Tang, Xiaobei's group of 9 was very relaxed. Even traveling was more comfortable than traveling outside. This morning, they found a secluded place and looked down with binoculars to watch others work. This is the Tang Hui mentioned in the intelligence report? It's really interesting. It's been more than 2 months, but you're still able to lead people to work there. According to the information, Lu Yan is about to go crazy, but we can't find a good solution. Tang Hui, you're really good. Lil Bei praised. Lil Yuan and the rest looked over as well. All of them revealed smiles on their faces. The information had already explained the situation clearly. Lu Yan wanted to find a breakthrough in another place, so he asked Tang Hui to find people to dig the river. Lu Yan was the one who temporarily paid for it. Tang Hui really did bring people to work. However, he did not directly dig the river. Instead, he cleaned up the other tributaries. Not only that, he also used his free time to clear a large vegetable field in the surrounding area and planted cabbages. It was October now, and the planting time was the end of July. There was no delay. According to the information, when Lu Yan came to investigate, he found out and was fooled by Tang Hui's glib tongue. Then, the other people in the county cooperated with Tang Hui and found many things for Lu Yan to do every day. Ever since Lu Yan came here half a month ago, he could not leave. Every day, he had things to do from morning until night. There were all kinds of strange cases. For example, the Wang family's chickens were driven into the river by the Li family's dog on the bridge. 6 of them drowned. The Wang family sued the Li family and asked them to pay for the chickens. Lu Yan ruled and asked the Li family to pay for the chickens, and the chickens belonged to the Li family. In the afternoon, the Li family came and said that they found a problem. When their chickens were scattered, 2 of them would always lay eggs in the same place. It was like this before, but they did not find out. Just now, they heard the children at home say that the eggs were actually nested by one of the Wang family's old hens. Then, did the Wang family's hens also nested their own eggs in the past? They went to the Wang family and asked. The Wang family admitted that they did have some extra chickens 2 months ago. According to the Li family, their eggs were probably hatched by their own chickens. However, the chickens that were driven into the river by the Li family's dog belonged to the Li family, because the Li family did not use the eggs to hatch them, but sold them for money. Therefore, the Li family did not accept it. Their dog drove their own chickens into the river. Why should they pay for it? The Wang family said that they were raised by me, and I also put in a lot of effort to feed them. The Li family said that they did not ask them to raise them. The Li family can also hatch their own eggs. I will give you the feed, and you have to pay back the money. The Wang family said that they were wasting time, and they did not pay for their work. A simple case became a different situation. Lu Yan was dumbfounded.
How can this be?
After checking many cases in the past and the Tang dynasty's laws, he realized that if a case was to be judged properly, it had to be done layer by layer. In the end, the 2 families were satisfied. The government even compensated a portion of the money. Because there were no guardrails on the bridge, if a chicken fell, it would die. If a person fell, he could also die. So the government had to take some responsibility. It took Lu Yan 3 days to decide on a case. Then there were other cases, and each of them took a long time to decide on a case. As a result, Tang Hui, who was working at the foot of the mountain with coal, could relax. He was not disturbed by Tang Hui anymore. He cleaned up the tributaries well. The cabbages were also growing well. If the weather turned colder this year, he could cut them down and eat them. He did not know that there were people watching him from the nearby mountains. He also did not know that the people watching him had a good impression of him. He was still busy cleaning up the river. He used the money Tang Hui gave to buy a lot of lime. He looked for ant holes by the river, especially under the trees. If he found one, he would dig a few holes and scatter the lime. This was to prevent the danger of pipe flooding next year. Let's go back and put on some disguise. We will go down and take a look. Xiao Bei wanted to talk to Tang Hui. However, Xiao Yuan said, "We can't go there directly after disguising ourselves. First, get someone to go to Old Willow Village and get the children there. We'll sneak in. Otherwise, when people see 9 of us, 4 boys and 5 girls, what's the first thing they think of? It will be the Tang Dynasty's patrol. All right, we'll listen to you. Today, we will let the children of Old Willow Village skip school. We have to hurry. There is still some distance from Old Willow Village. We have to hurry." Xiao Bei agreed with Xiao Yuan's idea. He immediately found someone to go around and inform the people of Old Willow Village. In the afternoon, the children of Old Willow Village came. They came in a carriage and wore the same clothes. They were very excited and looked around as if they were looking for something. Lu Feifei also took the same clothes with several children. Her face was full of expectation. Tang Hui was very puzzled. What happened today? The children of Old Willow Village did not go to school? Why did they come here to play? He put down the pick in his hand and went forward to greet the old villager. "Old Willow, you want to bring the children to see us work today? Don't worry, we will not listen to Lu Yan. Now the people in the yamen are dragging him. He can't come here. When he comes, it will be colder and not suitable for work. When winter is over and spring comes, it will be the spring plowing. We can't ignore the spring plowing and specially dig the river. After the spring plowing is done, we will think of other ways. Anyway, we will not let him succeed." The old villager said with a smile. Yes. We can't let him succeed. Originally, I planned to use Feifei's identity as an excuse after next year's spring plowing. But it seems that it won't be necessary. You work first. I will take the children to the other side of the mountain for a stroll and get some river snails to eat. As the old village head was talking, he walked away with his hands behind his back. After an hour, he came back with a group of children. The children's faces were all red. From time to time, they would look at a few places in the crowd. They were talking and laughing, jumping up and down. They did carry a lot of straw nets in their hands. For Old Willow Village, this kind of simple net could be done quickly by the children themselves. There were some river snails in the net. They said that they would peel them and blanch them in water. Then they would mix them and eat them. They also drank some wine. Tang Hui was very happy to see the happy children. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly saw Lu Zhou and frowned. He gritted his teeth and said, "He is so busy, but he didn't forget to come and have a look. I admire him. I really admire him." The old villager looked over and snorted. "Little Tang, you don't have to be afraid today. Say what you want and go against him. Don't worry, he can't teach you a lesson." Chapter 1371. Lu Yan came with a dozen or so yamen runners. He came in a carriage. All the yamen's registrars, deputy magistrates, and scribes had been sent away by him with all kinds of trivial tasks. He was not a fool. Last month, he could see that everyone in the yamen was against him. They were busy with endless trivial matters and messy cases. According to the first movie he saw promoting the emperor, there were countless extras involved. The day before yesterday, it was drizzling at night. He was very annoyed. Wearing a bamboo hat, he went out for a stroll and walked aimlessly to the side of the Honglu River. The dock was as busy as it was during the day. The porters unloaded the goods that were not afraid of being drenched by the rain from the ships and loaded them from the shore. Under the brightly lit lanterns, there were people drinking and making noise under the shed next to him. He could clearly see that the plaintiffs and defendants who had recently come to the yamen for a lawsuit were drinking and exchanging drinks. From time to time, there were roars of laughter. The sound was so harsh. He was being ridiculed by countless people like a fool. He carefully approached them. He heard them talk about how many eggs the chickens at home had laid. The pigs they caught in March had increased by a lot. They would kill them and sell them for money during the new year and leave one for their family to eat. They also talked about how the production of fine linen had increased by at least 20% this year. There was more work in the workshops and more money to be earned. They said that the weather was good this year and that the next month the carrots would be harvested more. They were all anxious about the high number of carrots and the high price of carrots. The Senongsi had already placed an order with the Ministry of Works for them to make manual carrot peters. They dried the carrots, stored them, and sold them to companies that made instant noodles. This way, they could maintain the price. He heard one thing after another. The common people's lives were very good. No one complained, and he did not hear any sighs. He should have been happy, but everyone understood that this had nothing to do with him, the new county magistrate. Then he heard them say that they should find someone to continue to complain to the yamen and keep the county magistrate in check. This was to buy time for Tang Hui, who was working at the source of the river in Old Willow Village. Damn it, they all deserve to die. Wicked people, they were playing with him like a monkey. Part of their happiness was directly related to his pain. He wanted to see how Tang Hui was fooling him and how he was tormenting others. Lu Yan thought so, and did as he was told. He arranged for the others to go out, and brought the bailiff here. What he saw was a field of well-grown cabbages. There were happy children carrying grass sacks filled with river snails in their hands, rough men who stopped what they were doing and looked at the children with gratification, and there was the face of the old village head of Old Willow Village who had a face full of years. The river that would pass through Old Willow Village was still the same river. The water was still clear, and its width had not changed. Its depth was still dizzying. Tang Hui! Lu Yan roared. Everyone knew how angry he was. Tang Hui first went to look at the old village chief and saw the certainty in his eyes. Only then did he smile and jog over to the county magistrate. "My lord, you've come? You've come at the right time. Look, the cabbages in front are growing so well. We have vegetables to eat this year's winter. When the weather gets cold, we can pluck the cabbages and soak them in vinegar. With a little wine, it will warm the heart and taste refreshing." That's right, that's right. I love eating cabbages the most. They're crispy and sweet, just like fruits. Then we can find some hibiscus skin from the seaside and mix it with vinegar. When we chew it in our mouth, it won't taste fishy. A fair-skinned girl in the crowd chimed in. Lu Yan first glared at Tang Hui, then turned his gaze to the little girl who spoke. He suddenly found that this little girl was slightly different from the other children around her. Her clothes were the same, and so were her shoes. The straw net in her hand was not very good. When did the craftsmanship of the people in Old Willow Village become bad? The difference was her hair. The hair of the little girl in front of him was darker than the other children's hair, and it was glossy. There was also a pair of bright big eyes. Every time her long eyelashes blinked, she made people feel that she was cuter. What was especially different was the look in her eyes. She didn't hate him, the county magistrate, nor was she afraid of his identity. It seemed like she was curious, and there was a trace of indifference. Her bright eyes were as calm as a lake without wind. Facing this kind of gaze, Lu Yan couldn't stare back. He didn't know why, but he felt a little scared. He unconsciously showed a smile and said to the little girl, "Cabbages are cheap, but hibiscus skin is very expensive. Also, if you don't eat seafood well, you'll be allergic." "Oh, I'm not allergic. I'm not allergic to anything. Hibiscus skin is expensive, but hibiscus skin is not expensive. The profit of 80 willow weavers in our village is definitely enough to buy 3 pounds. 3 pounds, it's enough for the children in our village to eat. If 80 willow weavers are sold at cost price every day, the children in our village will eat less cabbages and hibiscus skin every day." As the little girl spoke, she shook her head and stretched out her hand to touch the braids on her head. Her hair was quite elastic. Lu Yan's face darkened. The little girl looked cute, but he didn't expect her to talk with a knife in her mouth. This county magistrate, this official, Hong Nong, is the Hong Nong of the people of Hong Nong. The little girl corrected. This county magistrate. Lu Yan didn't know what he was thinking. He was competing with the little girl. After saying the 3 words, this county magistrate, he felt much better. Then he said, "Children don't need to worry about adult affairs. You should study hard. If I study hard and can be a county magistrate, then I have to come to Hong Nong and irresponsibly overturn your development plan. I have to change the order every day, right?" The little girl followed his words and asked. Lu Yan's face became more and more ugly. He turned his head, and ignored the little girl. Instead, he asked Tang Hui, who was standing next to him, "Is this how you work for this county magistrate?" Tang Hui was still thinking about things. He found that the situation today was very strange. First, the children didn't go to class and came here to play. Then, the old village chief supported them. Now, there was a little girl who made the county magistrate speechless. What was the problem? Tang Hui, who was puzzled, was still analyzing. Suddenly, he heard the county magistrate's voice. He quickly answered, "Sir, did I not plant the cabbages well? Don't think that the soil is harder than other places when you plant it. But after watering it with the water from a mountain, it's sweet. If you don't believe me, you can choose one later. Now it's small, but it's edible. You can eat it with the river snail meat." Tang Hui, you dare to tease this county magistrate, this county magistrate, this county magistrate. Several children shouted at the same time. You guys, Tang Hui, do you really think that I can't teach you a lesson? Lu Yan didn't want to shout at a group of children. He continued to point the spearhead at Tang Hui. Sir, why do you want to teach this little one a lesson? Why do you want to kill this little one without teaching? Then the punishment will be complicated, and the evil will not prevail. The children shouted again. Obviously, the school's function was reflected. The Chaoyang will be passed down for thousands of years. The old village chief said excitedly. Lu Yan was depressed. Whenever he thought of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, he felt uncomfortable. The Chaoyang movement was good, but it would be better if it wasn't the two of them. County Magistrate Lu, what do you think? The old village chief asked Lu Yan. Good, the children should study hard. This county magistrate is very pleased. Lu Yan forced a smile on his face and praised. He turned his head and asked Tang Hui again, You really don't know what this county magistrate is talking about? This county magistrate asked you to come here to widen the river. What did you do? Previously, you said that the upstream tributary had to be cleared first. Once it was cleared, it would be easier to dig the river. Look, is this how you cleared it? Lu Yan pointed at the cabbage field. You can clear a large field of cabbages by clearing the river? No wonder the last time I came, you guys ran to the front and pretended to dig the river. You were afraid that this county magistrate would see the cabbages you grew. I gave you the money to use. You guys grow cabbages, my money. Sir, don't be anxious. Listen to this little one. Don't be anxious. The money you took can cover your cost. After selling the cabbages, you can still have a surplus. Tang Hui hurriedly tried to persuade him. His gaze was firm as he pointed at the cabbages that still needed some time to harvest. Lu Yan looked again and nodded. Not bad. They look very good. The weather is good in this season. Can they really make money? Yes, I didn't tell you before. The cabbages we grow are from new seeds. The heart is good and has strong resistance to cold. When the weather is cold, the cabbages in other places grow slower. Our cabbages can grow faster. The longer they grow, the firmer they are. What's the benefit of being firmer? It's easy to store. When storing cabbages in the winter, even if they're stored in the cellar, they will always have to be plucked from the outside. The more they are plucked, the smaller they will become. Our cabbages have a tight heart, so the more they are plucked, the less they are plucked. There will be a lot of cabbages that we can't finish. When we sell them in the spring, they will be worth a lot of money. Tang Hui gestured as he spoke. The beautiful cabbages business seemed to be right in front of him. We can also pickle the pickled cabbage. It will be less damaged. A voice sounded. Lu Yan looked and saw that it was the little girl who spoke just now. The little girl looked very serious and continued, Pickled cabbage is easy to store. It tastes good and is rich in nutrients. It can be paired with many dishes and can remove the smell of other ingredients. I will teach you a convenient and delicious cooking method for free. Steam it and put it in an aluminum container. Cut the pickled cabbage into shreds. Cut the fat from the pig into slices. The thinner the better. Put 2-star anise and a few slices of ginger. Fill it with water and steam it in the pot. When it's cooked, you will find that the pickled cabbage is not so sour. When you chew it, the fiber is easier to break than when you stir-fry it. The fat is not greasy, and the slices of ginger are also delicious. If you like to eat scallions, find clean scallions and cut them into pieces. It will be refreshing when you eat them. The steamed soup is also very delicious. Slurp it and drink it. You will feel comfortable from inside out.
You can eat it.
Lu Yan listened and swallowed his saliva. When the little girl finished, he asked, "Really? You know so much." "It's okay, just so. Oh, remember to wash the pickled cabbage jar when you're pickling it. Use hot water to heat it a few times. You also have to brush the big stones on top of it. It's best to boil it. The water has to go over the big stones. Otherwise, the pickled cabbage will rot and be poisoned. You have to wait for more than 28 days before you can eat it." The little girl modestly told him another trick. She gestured with her small hands and made a pickled cabbage gesture. Lu Yan murmured and nodded. "When the cabbages are harvested, I will arrange for someone to make pickled cabbage." "Tang Hui, you have to take care of this." "Sir, just wait and see. I will get someone to buy pickled cabbage jars. We buy a lot, so it's cheap. During winter, I guarantee that you can eat whatever you want." Tang Hui patted his chest and promised. Lu Yan revealed a satisfied smile. Just as he was about to praise him again, he suddenly realized something. That's not right. What cabbages and hearts are good? What pickled cabbage? What steamed cabbage is delicious? I came here to see Tang Hui expand the river. He didn't dig it all. He went to plant cabbages. He was playing with me. How can this be? Do you think I am a fool? Tang Hui, I asked you to expand the river to develop the local economy. You are talking about those useless things. If I don't teach you a lesson, I will. Men, arrest the sinner Tang Hui. Lu Yan roared again. He planned to use the power in his hands to teach Tang Hui a lesson. It was not a problem to arrest him and beat him a few times. However, when he shouted, the Yamen runners who came with him did not do anything. After waiting for a while, Lu Yan gritted his teeth and said, Fine. I am the county magistrate of Hongnon County, so I can't control you, right? I will dismiss all of you and change a group of people. I don't believe that I can't find people who are willing to work in the Yamen. If there is no other way, I will go to Bajiang to find people. Don't think that I can't control you just because you have the secretary and deputy. When I go back, I will tell the higher-ups to dismiss the two of them. If you don't support me, you don't support the imperial court and His Majesty. Don't. The little girl's voice sounded again. Don't be angry. The main thing is that not everyone can represent the imperial court and His Majesty. Well, do you have to develop tourism in the area? Yes. Lu Yan seemed to realize that he represented too much and hummed. The little girl looked at him and told him to wait and think about it later. She pulled a few people in the group and whispered to them. Lu Yan stood there and sulked. At the same time, he was thinking about how to solve the problem at hand. If he really transferred people from Bajiang County, not to mention the problem of time, even if he could wait, his colleagues would laugh at him. The bigger problem was that if the people in the Yamen were replaced by people from Bajiang County, how would they get along with the local people? If he was not careful, there would be a revolt. The surroundings quieted down for a moment. After a quarter of an hour, the children finished their conversation, and the little girl returned to Lu Yan's side. She said, It is not impossible to develop tourism in Hongnon County. It is a good idea to use the water. However, the premise is that it does not affect the original development plans of the local area, especially the industrial plans that have started to show results. You must support them and develop tourism together. The development of tourism in Hongnon County is mainly based on the premise that the local natural resources and environment are not destroyed. The willow weaving in Old Willow Village is indeed an attractive project, but it is not enough. We will give you a few ideas. You can analyze them. If you think they are feasible, you can do it. If you think they are not, you can make corrections. First, take the initiative to contact the Angling Association and hold a fishing competition in late autumn or winter. Second, increase the support for the willow weaving industry in Old Willow Village. Find people to write stories about Old Willow Village and publish them in newspapers as advertisements. Third, on the basis of Hongnon County's existing foundation, Build an alternative fantasy-style building complex with fairy stories as the theme. Fourth, increase the image of the local brand. We think that the pickled cabbage just now is a good idea. There are pickled cabbage in other places, but it has not become a uniform scale. The county yamen needs to organize people to develop a system of research, production, and sales. Let's talk about these first. What do you think? Liu Yan was speechless. The yamen runners who came with him and the local people who were hired to work, including Tang Hui, were all stunned. Is this something a child should say? Why does it sound like a superior official giving instructions to the local people? Liu Yan looked at the little girl in front of him again. She was still so cute, and her eyes were still bright. Did those words really come out of her mouth? After thinking for a while, Liu Yan gritted his teeth and said with determination, "Children should not blindly interfere in the affairs of adults. The development in the past was wrong, a big mistake, and we must correct it. We can't keep making mistakes. The development of our county can only have one goal, and that is the tourism industry. Everything has to be based on reality, the root of the problem, and the perfect economic theory as the support. It's not like we have to follow anyone's plan, regardless of whether it is right or wrong. That is irresponsible to the people of Hongnon County, a violation of the policies of the local officials, and a harm to the overall development of Tang Empire. No matter who it is, no one can be above the reasonable local administration. No matter who it is, no one has the right to praise Hongnon County at the cost of the happy lives of the people, not even Zhang Xiaobao." Hearing Liu Yan's righteous words, the crowd fell silent again. Many people looked at Liu Yan as if they had just met him. The eyes of the children of Old Willow Village were full of resentment, and the old village chief narrowed his eyes. The people who were hired to work began to look for tools, and they all looked at Liu Yan unkindly. The runners picked up the water fire stick and aimed at their county magistrate. Tang Hui, however, pulled out the knife hanging on his waist, tilted his head, and sneered. The little girl and the other children exchanged glances with each other and then said to Liu Yan, "We understand." "Liu Yan, County Magistrate Liu, what you said is very good. We won't deny you. Now, County Magistrate Liu, please take out the perfect report of Hongnon County's local administration and economic development plan." "What?" Liu Yan felt that something was wrong. It seemed to come from the little girl's tone, but also from the expressions and actions of the people around him. He immediately regretted saying something that he should not have said. It was mainly because he was too excited just now that he forgot that the local people supported Zhang Xiaobao. Things were troublesome. It seemed that he had to find a way to smooth over his words, otherwise he was not sure if he could go back alive. "We are going to question you. If you can't come up with a perfect plan and your answer can't satisfy us, that is to say, if your theory and data can't convince us, we will suspect that you have ulterior motives." The little girl didn't care about the change of Liu Yan's expression at all, and said to Liu Yan seriously, "Why?" Liu Yan asked with a guilty conscience. He looked at the little girl in front of him again and wanted to see why she was so confident. How could a child be qualified to ask him such a question? If he had to answer anyone who asked him, he would not be a county magistrate. "Because my name is Zhang Xiaobei. Now, I and 8 other people are talking to you as the inspector of Tang Empire. Are you ready? Let's start," the little girl said lightly. Chapter 1372. Hearing Xiaobei's words, Liu Yan didn't stare blankly. He held his head and squatted on the ground. On the other hand, the yamen runners who came to work were in a daze. The children who came to Willow Village were arrogant. The old villager sighed. He knew that Liu Yan was hopeless. The Zhang family and Wang family style of dealing with each other had always been to give others a chance first and understand them at the same time. They didn't mean that when they encountered someone who might make a mistake, they would kill him without asking. Liu Yan, who was squatting in front of him, obviously lost this opportunity. Previously, Xiaobei had already asked him if he had to develop the tourism economy. He had a positive attitude. Then, Xiaobei discussed with the others and helped to come up with ideas. However, he expressed another meaning. He had completely exposed his thoughts. He didn't care about the development at all. His purpose was very simple, which was to overthrow the plan left by Zhang Xiaobao. Not to mention that Xiao Bei was Zhang Xiaobao's family. Even a superior would be angry when he heard such an answer. It was too targeted. Of course, the old villager understood that, even so, it was not the main reason for Lu Yan's bad luck. The main reason was that he couldn't come up with a perfect tourism economic development plan. In recent months, the old villager had seen Lu Yan being held back by his subordinates. Not to mention that Lu Yan didn't have a perfect plan before. Even if he wanted to make a plan, he would need time. Now, Xiao Bei and the others began to ask about politics again. Although it was a group of children asking questions, it was absolutely impossible to get through with a few words. After all, the children usually followed Xiao Bao and Cuckoo, and they were learning every day. Lu Yan's deceptive words could fool ordinary people who didn't read newspapers and didn't argue in tea stalls, but people who cared a little about politics wouldn't be convinced by him. County Magistrate Lu, get up and tell me. You can't hide from it. The old villager thought for a while and said to Lu Yan. Lu Yan also sighed. He was the one who knew his specific situation best. He originally wanted to change the previous administrative method as soon as he came to Hongnong County and then develop tourism. When the basic construction was completed this year and the results could be seen next year, he wouldn't have to worry anymore. However, the idea was good, but the reality was not satisfactory. Now that he had been caught by Xiao Bei and the others, where could he go to come up with a perfect plan? Looking at the indifferent faces of the 9 children, Lu Yan felt a sense of pressure. He finally realized that his heart palpitations often didn't just appear after knowing someone's identity. He had already felt the special look and expression on the little girl's face before. County Magistrate Lu, let's talk. What specific measures do you have in mind for Hongnong County's education and economy? Xiao Bei suddenly asked Lu Yan with a smile. Lu Yan knew that this smile was not Xiao Bei's genuine smile. It was a kind of peaceful smile that a superior showed to his subordinates. He had seen it before. Before he became the county magistrate of Bajiang County, the officials of the Ministry of Appointments would smile like this. Before he came to Hongnong County, the officials of the Ministry of Appointments would still smile like this. Even when he was invited to a banquet by the emperor, when he looked at the emperor and General Gao also smiled and said a few words of encouragement. There was a distance between them and their identities. Lu Yan believed that if the 9 children in front of him saw His Majesty and General Gao, their smiles would definitely be different from when they saw him. For example, when Xiao Bei smiled with the children of Old Willow Village, his eyes turned into the shape of a crescent moon. Taking a deep breath, Lu Yan thought quickly and replied, As for the education of this county, I think that first, we need to increase the literacy rate of the people. Second, we need to let the people understand the policies of the imperial court. Third, County Magistrate Lu, what specific measures have you taken to increase the literacy rate of the people? Xiao Bei didn't wait for Lu Yan to finish and asked the first question. Lu Yan paused and rolled his eyes. He said, I've decided to increase the circulation of the newspapers. If there are more newspapers, the people will be able to read? What kind of newspapers do you want to increase the circulation of? Xiao Yuan asked. I want to report to the government. As for the literacy problem, since there are more people reading newspapers, there will naturally be more people who can read. How can people read newspapers if they can't read? Do you think you can publish as many newspapers as you want? Xiao Qiang also asked. Well, Xiao Feng got Xiao Bei's signal and said, the second point you just mentioned is to prevent the people from understanding the policies of the imperial court. What should we do? What should we do? Newspapers. Lu Yan was obviously confused by the question. Let's talk about the economy. Xiao Bei nodded with a smile. Lu Yan began to sweat. He knew that he didn't answer the first question. Not to mention Xiao Bei and the other 9 people in front of him, any of the officers in front of him would be dissatisfied. He raised his trembling hand and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Lu Yan continued, As for the economic development, I'm thinking about using tourism to promote other industries in this county. With the increase of tourists, we can sell all kinds of local specialties in this county. What local specialties do we have in this county? Xiaonan pulled his sister forward and asked Lu Yan. Lu Yan was still sweating, and his mouth was dry. He swallowed hard and answered, "There is Lu Yan." "Yes, Lu Yan." "Only Lu Yan?" "That's from Old Willow Village. You can directly develop the tourism economy of Old Willow Village." "Why do you mention the county? Are there any other local specialties?" Xiaonan asked. Yes, there are cabbages. Look, over there, our county has a new variety of cabbages. I plan to make them all into pickled cabbages and organize the people in the county to conduct research, production, and sales. We also want to build a group of immortals. Next question, according to your plan, how much do you think we can pay in taxes this year? How much can the average income of the 3 classes of people increase? Shahai also began to show his presence. Lu Yan's face was scrunched up. He thought for a while and said, "Probably, maybe. Okay, this conversation ends here. Now, we ask you to come to the capital with us. Come, look at the conversation record. If there are no discrepancies, put your fingerprint." Xiaobei didn't want to ask anymore. He took the conversation record from Xiaozhu's sister and asked Lu Yan to put his fingerprint. Lu Yan withdrew his hand. He knew the consequences of putting his fingerprint. He couldn't be an official anymore and might even lose his life. "Come, help County Magistrate Lu." Xiaobei looked at Tang Hui. Tang Hui straightened his back and ordered the Yamen runners who followed Lu Yan, "Let County Magistrate Lu put his fingerprint." "Yes." The Yamen runners answered in unison. They rushed over and restrained Lu Yan. They took the stamp and pressed Lu Yan's hand a few times. When they let go, Lu Yan directly sat on the ground. After 2 seconds, he cried and patted the ground. "Why am I so unlucky? Why is my luck so bad? I'm so unlucky." "County Magistrate Lu, please stand up. You have to believe in the imperial court and the law. We won't wrong a good person, and we won't let a bad person go. We can guarantee that no one will deliberately frame you. Because what you said before involved our brother, we won't put you on trial directly. You should be prepared to be questioned a second time in the capital." Xiaobei was still smiling and said to Lu Yan with concern. Looking at Xiaobei, Lu Yan felt a chill in his heart. He finally knew what it meant to be an outstanding child raised by his family. He knew very well that the 9 smiling children in front of him wanted nothing more than to eat him alive, but they were still able to hold themselves back and even said such words. Thus, more tears flowed down his face as he pleaded, "Xiaobei, I know I was wrong. I won't dare to speak ill of Xiaobao in the future." Xiaobei shook his head in disappointment. He sighed and stopped smiling. Instead, he sincerely said to Lu Yan, "You were wrong. But you weren't wrong in denying my brother. If we were satisfied with your answer when we asked you about politics, not only would we not have a bad opinion of you, but we would also find ways to support you through other means. Well, let's not talk about this. I hope you can pass the second interrogation and keep a good attitude. You can continue to work for the welfare of the people in a suitable position. You can be an honest and flexible official and be a useful person to the Tang Empire." When he said the last words, Xiaobei regained his smile again. Seeing that the county magistrate was no longer needed, Tang Hui immediately followed the other 2 people behind Lu Yan. Each of them grabbed one of Lu Yan's arms and said as if they were very loyal, "Sir, we will protect you. Don't worry, with us here, we won't let anything happen to you. Please get in the car." Lu Yan didn't say anything and didn't resist. He was escorted into the carriage. "Go and call my brother and sister here. The problem is solved. I thought it was something big, but it turned out to be such a small thing." People's hearts, why can't they be set straight? "Sister Fei, are there any mushrooms in the village? We have hundreds of people. We plan to stay in the village for the night and leave early tomorrow morning." Xiaobei sighed and jumped to Lu Fei. He held her hand and talked to her. Lu Fei laughed happily. The children around cheered. They liked to play with Xiaobei and others. "Xiaobei, when I saw you smile at Lu Yan just now, why did I feel so scared?" Lu Fei thought of the previous situation and asked Xiaobei with a shiver. Xiaobei was still smiling, but it was different from before. It was very sweet and natural. He explained, "Fear is the right thing to do. My sister taught me that." My sister is the best at this, even better than my brother. When officials talk to their subordinates, they don't have to show their authority with a gloomy face. Even if they smile, they can make people feel scared. In fact, I don't like it, but sometimes I can't help it. In order to protect the people you want to protect, Sister Feifei, you have to learn it. It's called being round on the outside but square on the inside. You just need to remember that your heart is not moved. After waiting for a while, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came down. They looked disappointed. They stayed in Old Willow Village for the night. The next morning, they took Lu Yen and left for the capital. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.